what is it, YouTube or?
Twitch, and I'm gonna upload on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Alright, let me give a little intro. So, we're gonna be interviewing my friend APTheEvil, one of the strongest killer mains I know, who always plays to win, has 5 P100s, and plays nearly every killer in the game, and has been playing nothing but killer for like 90% of his career on DBD.
Since
And
2016.
since 2016. And
I used to be on the console days.
I've personally had the pleasure to play against him probably like 30 times, and I can tell you he's actually really talented on killer and plays to win, which I 100% respect. And we're also interviewing my friend Miss Mercury, who's a survivor main, but has given nearly every killer a chance to get their achievement. All right. So AP, when it comes, let me ask you what I asked Orioe. What do you think about gen speeds? Do you think they're okay? Do you think they're a problem?
So the interesting thing about gen speeds and how I personally feel, it's really hard to fully balance those out. You have
Mhm.
to take into consideration the killers that are coming into the game, the strong ones, and the RNG aspect that's being put into it, right?
Mhm.
I think what is it, 3 or 4 years ago, they basically nerfed gen speeds to make them 90 seconds instead of 80.
Mhm.
And the thing is like gen speeds as of now potentially can be very fast, right? They can be a
Yeah.
problem. Um, However, at the same time, and how I personally feel from a balancing standpoint, and how people would definitely feel about it,
Mhm.
if they were to like nerf generator speed even further, making them like 100 seconds,
Mhm.
people would not want to play Survivor. People
Yeah.
would not want to like play Survivor, and they would just consider that to be like a really annoying issue, right?
Mhm.
Granted, yes, you do have slowdowns to combat them. However, like mentioned in the past, um, three Jenny mechanic is definitely in place,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you
for
have that going
sure.
for you. Now, the thing is, gen speeds as of right now, it's very difficult to determine whether they are really bad or they're like stable.
Mhm.
If you're facing a really strong, competent four-man,
Mhm.
and if you are running slowdowns like DMS, pain resonance, right? Like if you're just stacking slowdowns like crazy, you're winning good chases, you're doing your killer's doing very well, and it's
It's cutting out a bit.
me.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you.
Right, right. Anyways, as I was saying, so gen speeds, right, they can range from being either finished in 4 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes,
Mhm.
to possibly like even 10, right?
Yeah.
So if all four or I guess five generators are finished in like 8 to 10 minutes, I would be very content with that because the game is gonna be fast, the game is gonna be getting over with. You know, both sides are basically to be able to progress the game, and I feel that I think it's in the right spot.
Yeah.
However, if you're facing a competent, and it all depends too, because people have to know something when it comes to playing both sides.
Mhm.
Dead by Daylight and the entirety and the entire core of the game is this: it's a constant race for pressure. Whoever gets the pressure the fastest wins the game.
Mhm.
Is survivors pressure generators the fastest, and if they are able to avoid the killer and outplay them, they're going to win, and they're going to win pretty fast if they're very efficient with their objectives.
I
As for
agree.
killer, if the killer gets a very good advantage, and if they're able to outplay and outsmart and do very well against the survivors in a good, in like a fast, efficient way,
Mhm.
getting fast, consistent downs and not fucking up their plays, then the game is going to go very well for killer, and it can eventually snowball,
Yeah.
leading them to getting a 4K, right?
Mhm.
It also is dependent on the players too. Like, for example, solo queue is really bad. Solo
Yeah,
queue
for
is
sure.
horrendous right now, and it's extremely unpredictable. So it's like back to the topic of gen speeds
Mhm.
and how I personally feel about them. I think they are a little bit too fast. I don't think they're ridiculously too fast because, like I've mentioned, there's definitely some counter plays to like slowing down the generators enough to where you can secure yourself a 4K, and it also depends on the killer that you're also playing and their power.
Yeah.
But I'll also be kind of honest. I think the slowdown nerfs have been quite, annoying to deal with, but they
Mhm.
can still be strong enough to win you a lot of games, clearly.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I think what they need to do, right? I don't think they need to nerf generator speeds, but what I think that they need to do is possibly nerf Swifts just a little bit.
Mhm.
Like, if the game detects that there's like a Swift, like a four-man Swift, they should probably give them like a -5% generator speed, right?
Mhm.
Something like that. Because Swifts are very powerful, very powerful. It's really hard to like beat a competent four-man with comms and strong perks and strong tiles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like a 5% -5% nerf would definitely like help with that just a little bit,
Mhm.
combating the jet speed, and it would buy you the killer at least like a few more extra seconds to like win chases and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, at least that's how I feel about it. I think jet speeds are a little bit too fast right now, but I don't think they're impossible to deal with because, I mean, clearly you can win games as killer.
Yeah.
You just have to work harder for it than you used to with like the Call of Bride meta, for example. That was a horrible meta.
Mhm.
And I think the 3 gen stoppage, right? I think the 3 genning system that they put in was actually a good idea. I
Yeah.
like that idea because it basically just gets the game over with. You're not in a hostage standstill for 3 gen for several minutes, and it just gets
Mhm.
extremely irritating, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I do like that system, and that's coming from a killer main. I like
Mhm.
this system because it gets the game over with, and I don't like kicking gens all the time. I think it's really boring. I'm more of a pain resonance guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like pop. I don't use pop. I don't think I barely ever run pop. Pop is like a rare perk in my eyes. So I like committing a chase. I like deadlock. I like passive slowdowns. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like going away from chases, kicking generators, and playing like a coward.
Yeah. And
But anyways, my final say on to it: generator speeds are a little bit too fast. They could use a little bit of a rework, but I don't think they need to nerf them so bad to the where Survivor just becomes like absolutely.
oh, you cut out again, AP.
I'll repeat what I said.
All right.
I don't think they need to nerf generator speeds a ridiculous amount. I think
Mhm.
they just need to nerf them just like a little bit, especially with Swifts and comms.
Yeah.
Um, just so that way killers either that or they could give the killers like a base kit 10 5-second deadlock.
Yeah.
So that way generators are not just going do,
Yeah.
or 5 generators go off and do in 4 minutes and game
Mhm.
over. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a
And
just a minor nerf though, not too much, but just a
yeah,
little bit.
I think I agree, but you gotta be kind of careful because, like, that's like the
Exactly.
most boring part of Survivor, you know? Like,
Oh
in my
yeah.
opinion, the most entertaining part is the chase. Everything
Yeah.
else is just like you can go to sleep, you can watch a movie while doing it. Like, you can literally turn your brain off and just hear the click and then hit it, you know? It's
Pull out
weird.
Netflix while doing gens.
Yeah. But I feel like Killer has that too, and it's the equivalent of going up and kicking gens and picking people up and taking them to the hook. Like, a lot of people
Or
want that
or
knockout
tunneling
nerf.
like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I think the knockout change is stupid, but that's just my opinion.
But I think that's like, I know some people don't like it, and obviously it's more fun for Killer than Survivor, but I think the funnest part of Killer is taking that chase and getting that knock. I think picking them up and taking them to the hook is actually like the equivalent of just sitting on a generator. It's like the boring
Exactly.
part of Killer. But anyways,
But anyways, that
it
was my super long answer to that question.
no, it definitely needed that explanation because most people don't understand that. But
Like I'm not saying like gut fucking survivor generator speed in
oh
general.
yeah,
Like I'm
no.
I'm not saying that. I still feel like generators definitely need to progress good enough to
Mhm.
where it's punishing the killer for making mistakes or punishing the killer for like dedicating
Too
way too much
much.
time to a
Yeah.
person. You know what I mean? Like there
Yeah,
needs to
yeah.
be some there it's like a skill based thing, right? Because and that's the interesting thing about Dead by Daylight too. Like the game on paper and the coding and all that is extremely simple, right? Like the death is as deep as a puddle.
Mhm.
Um, However, like the execution and the mastery of how the RNG works and the maps and tiles and everything is what makes it a complex, chaotic, unpredictable scenario.
Mhm.
And that's why it's a very attractive game because of that, that experience that you're getting every time of not knowing what you're getting.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're also learning at the same time on how to deal with certain tiles.
Mhm.
But anyways, I'll stop.
No, you're good. Miss Mercury, what do you think about gen speeds?
Yeah, sorry about my voice, by the way. I'm still sick.
No, you're good.
But basically, I think they're fine. Because I think it depends on, because like I play with both like solo queue and I both, people with
Yeah.
my skill level, which is like really bad. And then I
Mhm.
also play with you guys, that are like a lot better.
Mhm.
And I definitely agree, like when you are in a Swift, especially with people that are all good, the
Yeah.
game does go really fast. But like when you're with like say like me by myself with other people that are just as bad as me,
Mhm.
it really feels hopeless. Like it
Yeah,
literally feels
yeah, I
so
agree.
fucking hopeless. Like
Hmm.
it like say you get a blight and it's like four of me, right? And we're just like unhooking, healing. Like we can't even like get on a gen because we're all getting knocked so fucking quick.
Like with slowdowns too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
So
hard to
like
beat that.
I do kind of wish there was like something like AP said that if like things are going too fast, there's a way to slow it down. But I also wish on the other end that if things are going too fast on the killer side, there would be like a way to catch up. Because like if two people get
Yeah.
like tunneled out really quickly, or say someone gets tunneled out and then someone else quits, you're
Mhm.
basically just screwed. There's no way to come back from that
Oh
unless
yeah,
there's just
nah.
like one
Unless you play
person
for
that's really
Hatch.
good. Yeah, and it's just like it's kind of boring because like I know Prop Night had a thing where if people were dying like really quickly, they would speed the gens up just a little bit. They'd give you a chance to make a comeback because
Yeah, for
like
sure.
especially in DVD, even if all the gens are done, you can still get a 4K if people play really
Oh
badly. If
yeah.
they like, so I just wish there was a way to like speed up just in, like if things are going really badly for the survivor side as well. But I think
Mhm.
in general, on average, it's fine. Like especially
Yeah.
if you're good at the game and you're, at least at an average skill level,
Mhm.
that it'll go okay. I wouldn't be against like, more base kit stuff for killer to slow them down a little bit, but I just wish on the other end when things are going really bad that there would be like a way to like catch up or something.
Yeah. All right, let me ask a question first this time. What do you think about tunneling? Do you think tunneling's okay? Do you think it's like not cool at all? Like, what is your take on tunneling, Miss Mercury?
I'm for tunneling. I don't think it's like for me specifically. I don't love being tunneled
Yeah,
because
of
like I
course.
want like if I have a challenge, I want to get the challenge done. Like if it's like, oh, I need to do two gens or something. Obviously, it's for that game. That's not going to be that fun. But
Yeah.
if I'm getting tunneled, because I know this has happened a couple times where I'll get tunneled and there's two gens left or one gen left or something, and then I die, but then you guys still make it out. Like I love that. Like that's perfect. That's literally what should happen. That
Yeah.
one or two people get tunneled out, and then at least one or two people, maybe three, can get out. And like as killer, obviously I'll camp a tunnel sometimes too. Sometimes
Oh
depending on the
yeah.
map, you got to do what you got to do, and I'm totally fine with that. I think it's a valid strategy to win.
Oh yeah. And I will just say this, when I interviewed Orioi, I told him like people take tunneling so personal and they think it's like an attack on them specifically because like let's say they have TTV in their name or whatever. But me personally, sometimes I'll lose on like Trapper, right? Or like Pig, and then I'll load into Spirit, and then my mindset will be like, I don't care who it is, if it's a 5 gen looper or if it's a Jimmy Bob, I'm gonna tunnel. And it sucks, but like that's just the way people come into some of these matches off of like a hard loss. And I think it's valid for them to play like that, even if they only get one kill out of it, you know? Because it's a strat, and it's a strat that they committed to. But yeah, that's just my take on it. What about you, AP? You think tunneling's a problem? You think it's fine?
I honestly, the way that I feel about tunneling is I think it's a perfectly fine strategy. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Mhm.
Only because of the amount of countermeasures there are to it, right? There's like so many different ways that you can counter tunneling right now. You have several options. You have, let's say for let's just say a scenario, okay? Let's say that I'm playing let's say that I'm playing like Billy, right? And I'm just tunneling out a poor dude that just got unhooked, right?
Yeah.
However, let's also take into consideration that this person that I'm tunneling out, right?
Mhm.
Let's say that I BT check them instantly the moment they got off hook, right? And
Yeah.
then they vault a window and they just have life and they just fucking rocket themselves all the way to main, right? And they just hold forward straight to main, right?
Mhm.
So by the time that I chase them to main, that's probably gonna be. And if I'm like Billy, I'm like really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, maybe Billy's not a good example. Let's say an M1 killer, right? Let's say fucking Pig, right? Let's
Yeah.
say Pig. Pig. I think Pig's a better example. So let's say I BT check somebody when they got unhooked, right? And
Mhm.
then they just fucking life straight to main, right? And
Yeah.
then I have to try and catch up to them all the way to main, right? And
Yeah.
that's gonna take me like probably 10, 20 seconds,
Oh yeah, for
like
sure.
so it takes me 10 to 20 seconds to go all the way to main. Like let's say it's like Garden of Joy or some shit, right?
Mhm.
Um so it takes me like 10 to 20 seconds to catch up all the way to them in main, and then boom, they have a pallet, right? They drop a
Yeah.
pallet and then I break it, right? Then they have a really strong window that they can loot me on, so I chase them around that for probably like another 20, 30 seconds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if they make a mistake, I finally down them, right?
Mhm.
And then I pick them up, and then oop, decides to strike. Decides to strike. I eat decides to strike, and
Yeah.
then they go through a window and they hold forward to another strong tile, right?
Mhm.
And so I try to chase them again, right? I try to chase them again, and then right when they hit a pallet, and I'm gonna swing at them, dead hard.
Oh yeah.
Yep, dead
And then
hard,
it's
right?
over at that
So
point.
so you hit their dead hard, and then you finally down them again, and
Mhm.
then you finally get your second hook. So in that long ass span of time, probably like a 2 minute fucking chase,
Yeah.
that's like three generators dead gone.
Oh yeah.
That's like three
And then
generators gone because you decided to commit to somebody.
oh yeah.
Um and let's say for I can go on too. Like let's say
Mhm.
off the record, dead hard, fucking decides to strike, right?
Mhm.
And you're still wanting to tunnel out that survivor. But what if somebody just fucking runs up, shoulder the burden?
Oh yeah.
And guess what? And guess what? They get off the record and dead hard again.
And then at the very end, when you're finally about to
And
kill
then you
them,
hook them, and
adrenaline.
guess what? And guess what? And guess what? You hook them again, right? You hook
Yeah.
them, and then you hook them for the second time, right? And then they're on their third health stage, or their hook stage, right?
Mhm.
And then they unhook them, and then guess what? Like adrenaline. You know you
Yeah,
get what I'm
yeah. And
saying.
then it just
You
feels
get
like
what
you
I'm
should
saying.
just put the controller down at that point.
So, so the way that I look at tunneling, the best way that I can describe it, it's a coin flip strategy. It's a 50-50. You the way from a killer side and the way from the killer's perspective and how I look at it, it
Yeah.
depends. Tunneling is definitely a strategy, but it's not always the answer.
Yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
always the answer to win you matches. Like if you have to tunnel, by all means, go for it. But
Mhm.
just be ready for what to come if that survivor is prepared for you, for a killer
Yeah.
like you. Because that's just how you fight tunneling. Like
Mhm.
if you have a big problem with tunneling and a killer dedicating hardcore to you like crazy, you have options. You have a lot of various methods to help you fight against that playstyle.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and when you fight against that playstyle with those perks, it just makes the killers like play a nightmare. Like the killer will struggle their ass off to try and get you because of that. And I've
Mhm.
lost games to that. Like I'll admit it. I've lost games to that kind of stuff
Oh yeah.
because it's not easy. It's not easy to face something like that.
No,
Um
definitely not.
however, looking at it from the survivor's point of view,
Mhm.
um and I'm sorry, I'm giving such a long-winded
No,
answer.
no, you're good.
From the killer's point of view, I think it's perfectly fine. From the survivor's point of view, I think it's fine if you are ready for it.
Mhm.
If you are ready for that very specific playstyle, I think there's nothing wrong with tunneling in the slightest. But if you are not ready for that playstyle, then I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of on you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of on you for not being ready for that.
Mhm.
because you're loading into a game facing a killer that could do any sort of playstyle that they choose.
Mhm.
They could commit to anybody that they want, right? Because it's
Yeah,
just one
yeah.
person. It's one person against four.
Mhm.
Um, so if you're ready for the tunneling, I think it's fun, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's say I'm a survivor and I got all these ridiculous god mode perks,
Mhm.
and then I get tunneled out like crazy. I'm clearly gonna have so much fun getting
Oh
fucking hard
yeah.
committed on. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that because guess what? I'm ready.
Mhm.
I'm ready for that. Like I'm so ready for that kind of playstyle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I could counter it. Like I have endurance effects. I have exhaustion meta. I have a way to stun the killer if I get picked up. I have an extra health stage if all generators get finished. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
You're strapped
I
up.
think I think tunneling, and I hate to say it, but I wish we didn't have to hard target one survivor like crazy to stand a chance as killer.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, like a long while ago, like a couple few years ago, I used to feel really bad about tunneling a lot.
Mhm.
But as years gone by and the ridiculous amount of like endurance perks that I've had to eaten like crazy for over these years of playing,
Yeah.
I just don't feel bad at all about tunneling.
Oh yeah, no,
I,
you
I don't
shouldn't.
I don't I don't feel bad at all for playing that way. I really don't. I think
Yeah.
it's a perfectly fine strategy, and I think the only reason people complain about it is because they are not ready for it.
Mhm.
If they were ready for it, they wouldn't say shit.
Yeah, it's the
If they
same.
were
It's
if they were
this.
ready for the tunneling, they would not complain about it. But
Yeah,
if they were
yeah.
not ready for the tunneling, then they will complain about it.
100%. But it's like
So,
getting slugged and then you're mad because you didn't bring unbreakable and
exactly.
exponential and you know you
But
should
yeah,
have brought it.
but anyways, sorry for the very long-winded reply, but
Oh, you're
my take
good.
on it, I think tunneling is perfectly fine. You just need to be ready for it, but if you're not ready for it, it's going to be a miserable time for the survivor.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about it.
Hey, but someone said something in chat. Let me read it. What up, Benji, and what up, Luck? They said tunneling is very valid. It just doesn't feel good when it happens to you, but people have to stop getting caught up in the feelings of things and realize that
Hey, I need water real quick.
99%, no problem. 99% of the time it's not personal. Oh yeah, for sure. And let's see, as killer, you need to know how to time manage when uh to break chase to put pressure on gens. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I have a friend, he only chases people from like 15 to 40 seconds. If it's longer than that, he'll drop chase and go after someone else. That's like the easier way to like manage your time when you're not sure. But would you agree with that, Miss Mercury?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I agree with what AP says too about like, if you sometimes it's the wrong choice because, you know, we've all been in a squad where they like it's like my friend Benji here. There was
Mhm.
this one trickster that just could not get him. Like if he would have tunneled me, he would have got an easy win probably, but he picked the wrong person to tunnel
Yeah.
and he
Exactly.
ended up losing because of it. And
It's all about preparation.
yeah. And going back to the gen speed and like how winning games and stuff, it's really hard to balance the game when we have like Trapper and then we have Blight and Nurse in the
Mhm.
same game, and then they have Skull Merchant and she's really strong, but then they nerf her, but then they buff Freddy, and it's like they can't really understand to keep people at like the same level. They're just kind of like over buffing and then over nerfing, and but then keeping the strongest ones the same. They're not really like when they buffed Trapper, they just made him like get a little haste, and they could have done a lot more with him.
Mhm.
And it's just like it's really hard to balance when there's so many different perks, because like a perk on Trapper may be really strong, and then that same perk on Nurse is impossible to counter, and they
Yeah.
don't think about those things when they're introducing them into the game.
Mhm. And let's just go into this topic. I'll start off with AP on this one. AP, do you think this game is killer sided or survivor sided?
In solo queue, it's a 50-50 because sometimes you'll face like
Oh, yeah, I think your mic cut out. Can you hear him, Miss Mercury?
Nah, he cut out for me as well.
Okay. Yo, AP, your mic cut out.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear
Hello?
you now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why that was doing that. Okay, so the way that I feel about the game and which side I think is stronger,
Yeah,
it's really hard to rank that, and it also is highly dependent on the killer that you're playing. Let's
hi
say
Kelly.
for example, right, against a solo queue squad,
Mhm.
against a solo queue squad, the game can at times feel like it's killer sided because there's no cooperation, and usually those teammates are really dog water at the game and they don't know what they're doing, right? And they're making all types of mistakes,
Mhm.
like they're not playing tiles correctly, they're making the team like miserable because they don't know what they're doing. um some players are not as experienced, they're like new to the game, right?
Mhm.
But that's mainly like an experience problem. That's not like you know
Yeah.
that's not like a whatever you'd like to call it problem. That's just them like not being as familiar with the game as other players.
Mhm.
However, like I said, it's rare, right? It's rare when you come across a strong solo queue team that can just rush gens and just destroy you and chase.
Yeah.
When you face teams like that, it's definitely impressive to see, and even I get impressed by it. But if you're facing like the average solo queue lobby with like, I don't know, like let's say a strong killer, right? Like let's say Dracula, okay?
Mhm.
It can feel a little bit killer sided in that aspect, right? It can feel a little killer sided because those teammates don't know what they're doing. They don't have that kind of communication with the other teammates except for like HUD UIs and shit.
Yeah.
Right. So solo queue, slightly killer sided.
Mhm.
Because like I said, you still have that chance that you can get put with like good teammates that could destroy a killer. You
Yeah.
just don't see it often because a lot of solo queue players are just really fucking bad at the game, or they'll just go next instantly the moment the killer gets like a good chase,
Yeah.
right? And it's miserable. I do not like solo queue.
Mhm.
However, Swift, right? Survivor with friends,
Mhm.
full comms, strong perks, toolbox BNPs,
Yeah.
generator splitting, holding forward.
And going on their
um
favorite maps with broken tiles.
and going on their favorite maps with broken, strong, safe, easy tiles.
Mhm.
Um it can be slightly survivor sided in a sense because, okay, and I'm talking like as an experienced killer. I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah.
very experienced with the game, right? Let's say like a highly experienced killer versus an average experienced Swift that just rushes gens.
Mhm.
Um, it can be a challenge. It can be hard to deal with because perks that they have are very powerful and it can at times actually carry them.
Yeah.
However, they also have to outplay their perks by not giving the survivors what they want.
Hey, Betty.
They have to think extra, like killers have to actually play a little bit sweatier, and they have to actually think harder and strategically outplay the survivors better. Um because and in a short span amount of time too, by the way,
Mhm.
right? They can't just lean back on their chair and just treat it like it's a solo queue game, because that is not the case.
Yeah.
Those survivors are going to push all 5 generators in 5 minutes, and you only have like 5 minutes to truly think, oh god, how am I gonna get a kill? How am I gonna get this amount of pressure in XYZ time? Are
Yeah.
my slowdowns gonna help buy me the amount of time that I can actually win the game?
Mhm.
Right? And I'm talking from like a sweaty, like, play to win type of playstyle. I'm not
Yeah,
talking like a
yeah.
chill. I'm not talking like a chill casual playstyle. I'm talking
Like
like top
shit on
like
gens
top
while they have second
yeah,
chances.
yeah. Yeah, like top level, really abusive perk type stuff, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
maps, right? And maps,
Mhm.
map offerings too. Um it can seem like it's slightly survivor sided. However, like I said, I've won against players like that a lot, but it
Yeah.
also depends on the killer that you play too. Okay, let's say for example, I'm playing fucking Bubba
Yeah.
against like a strong 4-man team with like Eerie of Crows.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
I am going to get my ass kicked. They're gonna have so many windows, and only Bam is gonna do so much for me. They're gonna have so many pallets. They're gonna loot me forever, and by the time that I down somebody, I'm gonna have no choice but to camp them out to secure at least one kill,
Mhm.
or maybe get Noed, or maybe like an endgame build or something to like compensate for my bad chases.
Yeah.
Um, Average Joe killer, definitely slightly survivor sided.
Mhm.
Um, However, like a blight or a nurse, like S tier super strong killer,
Yeah.
very powerful killer with quad slowdown pressure, tunneling like crazy, fast mobility, getting super fast downs, instantly winning chases. Uh, then at that point, I feel like it does balance out.
Yeah.
But I hate that though. I hate it because it's forcing killers to get it's forcing killers to play like the strongest killers in the game, right? And the reason why killers have like a higher win rate is because Swifts are not as common. If Swifts were a lot more common, and if there were a lot more Swifts that were playing exactly like how I described, the kill rates would be much lower.
Mhm.
They would definitely be lower, and that's the reason why killers have actually been getting nerfed, as well as like killer playstyles such as slugging, nerf, camping, tunneling, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, like if you're playing as like a blight with 4 slowdowns against like a really strong 4-man with like a shit ton of powerful stacked perks and just splitting generators,
Mhm.
I think it's pretty even.
Yeah.
I would like to say that it's very balanced in that aspect. However, um, but let's say you have a blight with 4 slowdowns. It's like P100 with a lot of experience against an average Q solo Q Jimmy lobby. Oh,
Mhm.
dude, it's super killer sided.
Oh
You're
yeah,
not gonna
for
win that.
sure.
It's super killer sided if you're dealing with that. Like strongest killer in the game, 4 fucking slowdowns, tunneling out little Jimmy Bob off hook in like
Mhm.
10 seconds. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
definitely killer sided.
I
Um,
agree.
However, the overall, and like, I'm sorry for my long
No, no,
answers
you're
again,
good.
by the way, but I think the overall verdict that I feel about which side favors more than the other.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like killers could use a little bit more buffs. That would be very nice. But I would
Yeah.
honestly like to say that the game is pretty damn balanced in
Okay.
comparison to what it used to be. And that sounds crazy coming from me, but I honestly think it's genuinely pretty balanced. Um, and I think that I still think that killers should get a little bit more buffs. Like there should be a little bit more adjustments to generator speeds, but I honestly think it's quite middle ground.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's quite middle ground, and that's kind of like the beauty of the game because the game can actually shift from one side for the other as to
Mhm.
which is stronger. But like I've mentioned like 10, 20 minutes ago, it's a race for pressure, you
Mhm.
know? And the reason why the stats for killer win rates are higher than like for survivors winning is because killers are facing Jimmy squads all the time. Like they're just
Yeah.
murdering Jimmy squads. They're just absolutely massacring solo queue bots that don't know how to play the fucking game. And the more times killers do that, the more it's going to raise killer stats, the more it's going to raise killer rates, and the more nerfs killers are going to receive because survivors just don't know how to play the game. Or they
Yeah.
don't play the game, or they don't play the game seriously enough to where they want to win, and that's why they go next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Let me read some of this off so we can get
But anyways,
your.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, for sure. Let me read this off though so we can all hear this cuz they're trying to contribute to the conversation. They said,
Yeah, I'm
"Sup,
sorry.
bro? In my opinion, this game is sided only. Wait, only killer sided if you're playing solo. So you're saying like against solo queue teammates, it's killer sided? Um, I hope everyone's having a good day though. Betty, Kelly, Benji, and Luck. Map offerings are a big problem, and have been for years. I agree, and I don't want them completely removed, you know? But the 20% chance I think is a lot better than completely just taking it all out the game. because that's the alternative option. Based on statistics, win rates is about even for Survivor and Killer. However, Killer has a much higher chance to get a 2K and above, around 70%. Yeah, for sure. On average, definitely. The overall that has come from statistics from the game says it's killer sided. The devastating even stats that the game is tailored to tailored to killers because of the fact it is a 4v1. Yeah, for sure, but I think like at the highest level it leans a little bit more towards survivor. But on like the most
Hmm.
like medium to like lower level, for sure I think it's heavily killer sided. Because I think a newer killer can dominate against newer survivors, right? And even a
Yes.
mid killer against mid survivors could still dominate against them. But the higher tier lobbies, like I'm talking, they can literally loop you with no perks, but they
Hmm.
rock perks. It's gonna lean more towards the survivor side, especially if they bring
Yes.
their favorite map and don't learn any other map. They just play the same map like 10,000 times a day. I think for sure it can lean to the survivor side, but in the medium to lower bracket, I think for sure more towards killer side. Um, just understanding why he is saying that. I agree that maps can be an issue, but you don't need 4 slowdown perks are a strong killer. It depends on what killer you're playing for sure. Like obviously if I'm playing
Trapper.
Trapper, I'm gonna need 4 slowdown.
I think he very. I mean, for him, I think force slowdowns.
Like
I don't think you need it on Blight, but for him,
yeah.
I think he needs it.
Like watch, look, I'll show you the perks that I rock on Trapper. I rock
day,
Surge,
Naughty.
Pain Res, Corrupt, Deadlock. I know I can win without him, and I bring a map offering sometimes, but for Trapper, I think it's understandable. But still, this
Hmm.
is like my typical setup right here. And yeah, it does lean more towards Killer, even though I'm playing Trapper because I'm bringing the map offering. But imagine if I wasn't bringing the map offering and I went to like, let me say, what's that map? Nostromo. I don't think I could win unless I get super lucky or they're super Jimmy. Same with Pig. Pig, I'll show you my build on her. Pain Res, Deadman's, Grim, Bamboozle. Like, I think for like the lower tier killers, for sure, especially if you're like in that higher bracket of MMR. Because I'm Devotion 80. I don't really get like the lower bracket lobbies. I wish I did, because then I can just run whatever on any killer, right? But like being in the higher bracket, it's really hard. And then even this, I rock Spirit Fury and Enduring on what is it, Legion, with Bamboozle and Pain Res, and you would think that's a pretty good setup, right? I've gotten 4 outed on this more than I've gotten 4 kills. It's
Hmm.
crazy. As Legion, obviously, but and Chucky, like, look at my build on Chucky. My gosh. I actually switched it up, but I have Language Touch, which exhausts them when I scare birds within 32 meters of them. I got Pop, I got Pain Res, and I got Deadlock. And believe it or not, that's not enough for Chucky. I get 4 outed on Chucky like I want to say 80% of the time. Which it is what it is, I still play, but on like these lower tier killers, it's really hard to say like it's basically what is it? Killer sided. I feel like we have to take into account like every killer in the game and not just like the top fours. Because if we're talking top fours, I will 100% agree every day of the week. You don't need 4 slowdown and you could 4K a survivor squad. But like if we're talking Trapper, Pig, Legion, and Chucky, and I'm bringing up these examples because I've played them a shit ton. So like I kind of like understand what it's like to go against these sweaty squads as like a lower tier killer. It's like it's basically like you're at the bottom of a hill, right? And then you're just getting hit by rocks and even getting RPG'd and then you're still trying to climb up the mountain. It's like so difficult sometimes. But
Welcome to being a Chucky main.
yeah, exactly. It's pain. But what do you gotta say, Miss Mercury? It's your turn.
All right, so mine's a little bit more messy
Yeah.
because, in my opinion, the game is more RNG and sweat sided
Mhm.
than either killer or survivor sided. Like, whoever the hell wants to win the most is going to bring
Yeah.
the strongest stuff, like your trapper build, map offering, your add ons,
Mhm.
you know, like whoever's going to be the sweatiest is going to win. See, like if you brought that and like brought midwich and trapped everyone folds and gives up, like you're going to win because you're sweating and they're like, I don't want to sweat, and they just dip out. And
Yeah.
same thing for survivor, when we're running the Kobe build and you know just sweat super hard, we're going to have a more chance to win, especially if we get a good map, we get
Mhm.
good tiles. Because sometimes you can get a map, like say if nobody's bringing a map and it's like that one corn map that has like 3 tiles,
Yeah.
that one's going to be a little bit more killer sided because you got bad RNG for us.
Mhm.
um because like even if you do get a good map, you might get a good map that doesn't have good tiles or doesn't have good pallets or um whatever. So like I do agree with both y'all's points. Like obviously a weaker tiered killer,
Mhm.
especially if you're not bringing anything special, it's going to be, leaning towards more balance to more survivor sided, especially if you get a full stack versus like random solo queue. But, even I've paired with some solo queue teammates that were super sweaty, brought really good stuff,
Mhm.
actually wanted to win. And we've won, which you would think that we would be at a disadvantage. But I don't know. I think it's more whoever's sweatier and, and hope that RNG is on your side as well. Cause like, the killer is RNG for the survivor. And the
Mhm.
same thing when you're playing killer, it's RNG what the survivors are going to bring. You might bring people that are just trying to do adept, and it's going to be, leaning towards your favor.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. That's just how I feel. It's just really random, and that makes it kind of hard to balance because you never really know if you're going to get someone sweaty or you're going to get like a chill game. And like people are
Yeah.
like, well, let's do two different modes, but that's not really going to work because you could have
Yeah.
like a chill mode and a sweaty mode, and the people that are really really sweaty and really really want to win, they're going to go to the chill mode to
Yep.
stomp on people. So it's like that's not really an answer for that.
Yeah, nah. And then I agree with what you were saying about the maps. Like sometimes even with the best squad, you'll get a map with 3 pallets. But then sometimes you'll load into a map and you'll have a window vault into shack, And it's like, geez, they have basically 3 windows that they can vault endlessly till eventually they get blocked before they go down. And then that's not even considering all the pallets they have either. It's just sometimes they get that good RNG and they get like broken stuff on either side, Killer gets the 3 pallet map and Survivor gets the like 12 window vault with like 10 god pallets. But yeah, for me personally, playing the lower tier killers, I can't really rock like no slowdown because it's just really difficult for me to win against good teams. And I know like you shouldn't have a mindset where you want to win. You should just go in like, oh, if I lose, I lose, who cares, right? But sometimes I really, really, really want to win against good players, and the only way I can do that on like a sweaty kill, I mean not a sweaty killer, a low tier killer is by rocking like a sweaty build and like trying my absolute heart out. And obviously that doesn't happen all the time. Like I would say out of 10 matches, probably like 3 or 4 of them are really sweaty. But sometimes those 3 or 4 of them will be in a row. And like I'm even rocking like the sweatiest stuff that I could, and I'll still lose, and it's just like super frustrating. So like I do understand it's a very RNG based. It's perks are good and they can help you, but the RNG of the map is probably like the thing that determines the outcome the most. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying. I don't use 4 slowdowns on my naughty berries, my second P100, but I also have 3,000 hours in the game. I have 13,000 hours in the game. Low tier killers, you might have to because they are not strong enough to go against really, really great survivors. I agree. Like, if you don't care about winning, it doesn't really matter, You can still rock, like, no you can rock no perks at that point and then still like occasionally win. But against those really, really, really good ones, you gotta bring really good perks and hope that that's enough. But even that's not enough depending on the random maps that you get. Let's see, I remember you gave your Chucky build the tricks. He's been on a kill streak with that build. Oh hell yeah. I still play Chucky and try to like make him work even though he's really difficult. Very true statement. You play a huge part of the dynamic of the game. Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's see. What else can we talk about? Um,
I can give ideas.
yeah. Go ahead, throw an idea out there.
um, let's see. We could talk about aesthetics. We could talk about the lore. We could talk about the approach. We could talk about like the
Let's
DLC,
Yeah, let's talk
the
about
health.
the lore and the DLC for a bit, because that's like something that's doesn't even really relate to balancing.
I mean,
Um,
it's just it's a part of the game.
yeah, for sure. I think we should talk about the licenses being added to the game, because I feel like that is what's like really bringing the game as far as it's gone today.
It's definitely the reason why it's been alive for as long as
Yeah.
it has been for freaking 8 years, dude. Almost
Mhm.
9.
Let's just
Like
start with who's
people don't log in. They don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I want to play Hack from Dead by Daylight.
Hey,
Like
some
no.
crazy people do, all right? I played a hag match I think yesterday. But I agree though, like the licenses have brought this game like above and beyond every other game, you know? Cuz like if the
My son is the
licenses,
Hag Meg. I respect that. I respect that so much.
hell
That
yeah.
killer is hard to play. We could
It's
also talk about
200.
like how hard certain killers are and how we could fare
Oh
them
yeah,
against certain,
we can go through that.
you know.
Let's start from the top. Trapper. Let's hear your thoughts on Trapper.
Oh boy, where do I begin? I think Trapper is a very beautifully simple killer.
Mhm.
I love Trapper, and I think he's a beautiful killer because of his simplicity. He's as
Yeah.
bread and butter as bread and butter comes. He's not super strong, but
Mhm.
he's obviously capable of winning against your average team.
Oh yeah,
He's
for
got
sure.
traps. He just runs up to you and hits you. And if you step into his traps, if you make those mistakes, you're screwed. If you don't make those mistakes, if you set up his traps, he struggles a lot.
Mhm.
I love Trapper. I think he's a very fun killer. Despite him being very simple, he's very, very simple. He's not hard to learn. He's
Yeah.
straight to the point, and I think he's a really nice introduction character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think he suffers against really strong teams that are very good at like picking apart your traps.
Mhm.
But if you're very smart with your trap placements and if you know where to put them to where survivors just like don't see it and they just go, "Oh shit, I stepped in this," and then they die,
Yeah.
very satisfying. Very,
Oh
very
yeah.
satisfying.
And I feel like when you win with Trapper, it's like more satisfying than winning with like 90% of the roster, even though it doesn't
Either
happen too
or
often.
either that or a cringe S tier, you know?
Yeah.
Like an ego trip S tier Billy. Like, I don't know. I feel like somebody stepping in my trap as Trapper feels way more satisfying than
Mhm.
landing a cringy saw down with Billy.
It feels like you caught like a shark or something. It's crazy. What do you think about Trapper, Miss Mercury?
You said what's my opinion on the Trapper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that you guys have said about Trapper.
Mhm.
Because he is like a weaker killer, obviously, and it does feel better to win in him. But he is
Yeah.
really good for beginners because it's very simple power.
Mhm.
I do feel like he's a little weak, but he's fun to play. But
I kind of like that he's weak, though. I know that sounds weird to say, but
Yeah, no,
but
you need weaker killers in a game like this. If all of them were S tier, it wouldn't be really fun in my opinion.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because it would if everyone was as strong as Blight, it would be miserable.
It would be so
Yeah.
corny.
All right.
But
What else you have to say about him, Miss Mercury?
oh, I was just saying, like he does have his strengths. Like if you're lucky enough to lock down a certain area of the map, whether it's a
Yeah.
3 gen or the basement, he can be really strong, and it really pisses survivors off.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's like the biggest strength of him is he can take like the most broken side of the map and just make it unplayable, you know? And sure, if they're like going and disarming your traps, it's gonna be hard. But if they're not disarming those traps, they can't use like stuff like Killer Shack as an infinite loop. They can't use like 3 window volts back to back. Like they actively have to be destroying your traps, which makes them not be on generators as much. Granted, like they're still gonna get gens done. That's just a game of a trapper. But yeah, alright. We good to move on to the Wraith?
Yeah.
Alright, what do you think about the Wraith AP? Hey, what up, Simply
I
Jazzy?
I mean, it's kind of the same case with Trapper, but I don't like Wraith because he's too easy to play.
Mm-hmm.
At least with Trapper, like, yeah, Trapper is easy, but he's also super predictable, you know? Like, Trapper's a very predictable killer. But
Yeah.
with Wraith, I'll be completely honest, I think he's, like, one of the most annoying, um, solo queue enforcers I've ever seen in the game. Like, he murders solo queue. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, he's fun to play though. Like I think he's super chill to play. Like if you want to just turn off your brain and just run around and cloak and just, you know, get your ambush hits on people, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty fun to do that. Like I think that's cool and fun. He's
Yeah.
also pretty strong too. Like he has really good map coverage despite him being an M1 killer. And he's very good at ambush hits. Like he's really nasty at like ambush hits. However, he does obviously still have the simple weakness that once he gets uncloaked, he can be looped the same just as any other M1 killer, you know? Like, he's not super flashy in that regard. Like, all he could do is uncloak, catch up, and then hit you or try to hit you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just like, you know, run around just like any other M1 killer can.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think he's fine. Like, I think he's fine for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not the biggest fan of him because I just think he's like way too easy to play, you know? I think Wraith can be like a very annoying killer to face when they're just hitting and running and like never committing to you and stuff with like sloppy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not fun to face. That's like really, really boring. I'd rather face Legion than that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. Ever since the 3 gen meta got nerfed, and since killers have been receiving quite a bit of nerfs to like sloppy and other things, I don't think Wraith is that bad anymore. I think he's fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't love him. I don't love him like many people do, but I think he's okay. I think he's good enough. Like he's fun to play, he's chill to play, he's very easy to learn. He's got his strengths, he's got his weaknesses. I think he's perfectly balanced.
That's fair.
I used to really hate on Wraith, but not so much anymore.
I like him because I've called him this for years, but I think he's the Meg of Dead by Daylight. He's got that little built-in sprint burst when he uncloaks. I really fuck with them. But let me read a couple comments that people said in chat. They said I love Trapper. He got me into DBD. He's so easy to pick up and master. And on my opinion, Trapper is very strong if you play him strategic and ignore the start of the game for your strategy. Um, Even if you disarm traps, you are now zoning them to where you want.
That's why I
Yeah,
love Trapper though.
and
Like
Jazzy said Wraith can either be really good or really bad, no in between. Let's see. And then Kelly said, LOL, the Wraith can be annoying, but Wraith was really bad back in the day in 2017 when I played him. I remember he was bad, but he came a long way. Yeah, for sure. Wraith's a lot better than what he used to be. But what were you gonna say, AP?
oh, all I was gonna say is like Wraith has definitely come a long way. He used to be like really bad at the game because when I was in 2016 playing this, oh dude, playing Wraith was horrible.
Yeah.
You would literally get insta blind. You couldn't catch anybody because of double window vaults. Entity blockers were not a thing. It was super easy to see you coming with your like even with you being in cloak.
Mm-hmm.
If Survs had a flashlight, they could just fucking shoot it at you and you just get uncloaked immediately. Like it sucked.
Yeah, I remember
Like
that.
Wraith was fucking miserable to play back then. But they
Mm-hmm.
buffed him a lot. They buffed him an incredible amount, by the way. Like
Yeah.
you can't burn him out of his cloak anymore. You can't insta blind him.
Mm-hmm.
He could catch up very quickly. Like his map traversy is a lot better. But yeah, dude, Wraith used to be horrible. Like I would rage and scream playing Wraith because of how bad he used to be. And you couldn't like loop, you couldn't get anybody. Like entity blockers were just not a thing, and the multiple like double shack window shit, like come on, like that was ridiculous. But anyways,
And
but
one
I
thing
think he's
too
fine.
is
I think Wraith's cool.
maybe some people realize, but maybe some people don't, but I'll just say it. You can blind him from the back, so you can chase him down while he's on someone and just keep blinding him from the back. Like, you didn't have to aim specifically at his face. You can aim at his toes and it would blind him out of his power. It
Yep.
was actually crazy.
I thought it was a cool mechanic. I'm sad that they took it out. I liked that mechanic for Wraith because it at least gave like the survivors a chance to fight against his fast as fuck movement speed.
Yeah.
But now since they've taken that out of the game, it's hard to counter an ambush like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like let's say for example you had like a flash bang on you, right? But you didn't see the Wraith coming. But then like 2 seconds the Wraith is like right on top of your ass and you throw that flashbang down and it just knocks him out of his cloak, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought that was cool, but now you can't do that anymore. Like now he could just be right on top of you and just rock your shit. And you have to play like super safe. You have to play like a coward against Wraith. You have to like you can't sit on a generator while you're injured. Like you have to go for heals and stuff a lot, and you have to reset a lot. Like it's not the most fun to play against, but
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, there's worse killers to face than Wraith. Like I think Wraith is fine. He can still be like annoying to face, but it's I don't know. I don't face too many annoying Wraiths that often like I used to.
Yeah, same.
I don't even face Wraith that much, anyways.
What do you
I
gotta
mostly
say, Miss Mercury?
I personally do not love the Wraith. I don't love playing against him. I don't like the body blocking thing. But I do think he is balanced, like AP said, with like the nerfs to sloppy and some of the other stuff. He is okay. You can usually get a 2K out in solo sometimes, unless you get shit on. Usually Swift is fine. Just don't really enjoy it. I usually like stealth killers, but I just personally don't enjoy them. That's all I really gotta say.
You got anything to say on the Wraith before we move on, AP?
I don't know. He's like yeah, he's just okay. I don't hate him anymore like I used to, but I'm also not like super into him. I mean, it's cool to
Yeah.
see that like a long time ago when I was a teenager playing this, like when he was straight garbage and unplayable. To seeing him now to where he can actually stand a chance in the current meta and keep up with everything, it's a cool change to see because he's still an OG killer at the end of the day, right? Like
Yeah, for sure.
he's always been in the game for a very long time. Like he's an old dude, right? Like he's been around forever. So it's nice to see the old guys get the love that they deserve after being bullied for so long. But I still think he's okay. Like I think he's mid. I respect the fact that like he's a vintage killer because he's been around forever.
Yeah.
It's just I prefer playing other killers. I mean, I'll
Oh,
play
no
Wraith
doubt.
sometimes. I play Wraith on occasion, like if I just want an easy game. But for the most part, yeah, that's all I feel about him. I think he's cool. I think he's fine. Like very mid-level feelings for him.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, let me see what everyone's saying. Yes, but the same time burning out of your cloak was good. As a killer main, uh I knew that their beamers would be empty for the saves. Yeah. But they definitely wouldn't be saving against Wraith. They would just be annoying you basically. But it wouldn't like, I don't know, it wouldn't really affect you because they weren't like gen rushing either. Same with burning the nurse. Well, I really got a ton of race with my when my son talks me into playing Survivor. I feel mutual about the Wraith. I like going against them. Just if you have a little bit of pallets, you're gonna suffer against a Wraith. I agree with Wraith was unplayable before. It would be annoying consistently getting burnt with a flashlight while being cloaked. Yeah, I think it would have been fine if they like made it to like at least an upper body near head blind, but like the fact that you can blind them at the feet was kind of annoying. You didn't even have to have aim, you just had to point in the general direction. Hope you're doing good, bro. I am. I hope you're doing good too, Ronnie. Alright, let's talk about the implement, Billy. You want to start this one off, Miss Mercury?
Oh God, Billy. Billy, when I hear that fucking chainsaw, my heart drops. Because if you get a really good Billy, it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It can be really satisfying to like dodge his like ability,
Mhm.
but like after his buff, especially, I'm really ass against him, and it's like a match can go from like just starting to being over so quick, and
Yeah.
which is fine because he does take some skill to like master, but
Mhm.
I don't like the ones that just go for full slugs and then hooking people. I really hate those.
Mhm. I can give a little bit of a take on Billy because I remember when Billy was really, really, really bad. I remember when Billy would go for a chainsaw and he would get like stuck on a little can on the floor or a little milk carton that's stuck there. He would just tantrum on it. It was crazy. Back then, Billy was like he was still decent. He wasn't like the worst killer, but he definitely was close to it. Just because he got stuck on everything when he used his chainsaw. Luckily, they smoothed out a lot of the maps and didn't like basically let him tantrum and slam into things as easy. But back then, it was so easy to loop a Billy just because he would literally get stuck on everything. It was annoying. He was like super unfun to play, especially if you were new to him. Really, really good experienced Billies back then could still make it work for sure. I went against a couple good Billies before he got the buff that he did, and I would literally just give him props, you know? Like, even if they would win, I would just be like, man, I respect you for playing Billy, because that dude sucks. But now, current day, he's obviously top four. He's really good. Nothing much to add about it. He's got that overdrive, which is really hard to counter. And most Billies, they just get right up on you with overdrive and knock you. They don't really go for curves or anything crazy, which they don't have to. But yeah, it's just kind of watered down, and he's really good now. Nothing much to say about it. What about you, AP? What's your
I
thoughts on the
absolutely
Billy?
hate him. I used to think he was cool in the
Mhm.
very beginning where he actually took like a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Um obviously more fun to play with because he wasn't as strong.
Mhm.
I think he's overtuned like crazy. I mean, yeah, they slightly nerfed him a little bit, but that's not really going to do it in a significant amount.
Yeah.
Um, but in all fairness, at the same time, like we also have to take into consideration that Billy, he used to be a bad killer
Oh
for like
yeah.
years, dude. Like Billy used to be like a really bad killer for so many years. Right. And it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really cool. And it was really cool seeing like those Giga Chad, like dedicated as fuck Billy players that
Mhm.
would like destroy four mans, and still, win games and go for crazy nasty curves. I mean,
Mhm.
granted they needed scratch, they needed scratch marks and stuff like that. You know, they needed the add-ons to help them go faster, which is interesting.
Mhm.
And looping Billy back then was super fun too. Like especially looping a Billy and not dropping pallets on him like a lameo.
Mhm.
And you know, giving them a chance to try and go for curves, like that was super fun to do, right? I
Yeah.
enjoyed doing that, and I used to like really enjoy playing against Billy because of it. But ever since he got buffed, like I can't like him anymore because Overdrive, I think, is like over fucking tuned. I
Mhm.
mean, like anybody can just be a Billy back revving shitter, you know? Like anybody
Yeah,
can just play
yeah.
Billy. Anybody can just play Billy and just overdrive shitter on any survivor. And it's like, okay, yeah, he does take some skill, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, curving still takes work, right? You still gotta practice. You still, you know, he has a skill ceiling to him, obviously.
Yeah.
um but overdrive is, I think it's ridiculous. I can't believe they actually gave him that. I mean, yeah, it's cool because, you know, he hasn't had a very powerful buff in such a long time.
Mhm.
But it's still astounding seeing like a low medium tier killer becoming probably like the second strongest killer in the game.
Yeah.
Like off rip like that, which is mind blowing to me. Um
Mhm.
the thing that I just don't like the most is I can't have fun playing against Billy anymore when I play Survivor. I mean, obviously, if I play as him, like I'm going to have a good time because he's really fucking powerful. So like that's fun, I guess. But when I play Survivor, it's not fun because I can't loop a Billy like old Billy. I can't have them trying to curve on me because they can get an easy curve with that extra movement speed.
Yeah.
I have to pre-drop and camp pallets like a bitch when I play Billy now, and it sucks.
Mhm.
I don't I hated that, right? That's why I don't like him anymore because it's just not fun to play against. Like I can't greed on that killer anymore. I have to play against him like he's fucking Oni,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, I mean, I used to think Billy was cool, but I don't like him anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, yeah, good for him for getting a very powerful buff that he deserved.
Yeah.
But you know, I still think he's lame and overrated.
Yeah. I agree. All right, that's Billy. Let's get to the nurse. Miss Mercury, you want to start it? AP, you want to start it? Who wants to go first?
I could start, that's fine.
All right,
Yeah,
go
he
for
can.
it.
I love Nurse. I think she's a necessary evil for this game, in my
Mhm.
honest to God opinion. I think Nurse is like an amazing introduction to like the quote unquote final boss of Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like because you got to think this killer came out a long ass time ago when entity blockers were not a thing.
Mhm.
You know, windows were absolutely broken.
Yeah.
um Fast vaults were always instantaneous. There was no such thing as medium vaults, right? Stupid shit like that.
Mhm.
Pallets were everywhere. Maps were ridiculously fucking huge. You
There was
know,
no
you could see
bloodlust.
everything. There was no bloodlust, none of that. And then they came out with a kill, and I'm telling you right now, they would never make a killer like Nurse again. Nurse, I felt like back then was definitely a necessary evil because like the other killers, they were terrible against that.
Oh yeah.
However, she was ridiculously strong. And
Mhm.
she's still ridiculously strong. She's a very powerful killer.
But
Um
back then, didn't she have like 7 blinks with add-ons?
oh, I think so, dude. She was straight up
Yeah.
broken and she's still very powerful to this day. Like
Mhm.
I don't think anybody will be ever stronger than Nurse because her power is just so phenomenally different from every other killer.
Yeah.
Um, the interesting thing about Nurse and the reason why I love this killer is because she's an extremely unique killer in her own right. She doesn't play like anybody else in the game. She's not a copy paste from anybody else in the game. She's like her own original, very unique design. And you can't take what you learned from Nurse and use it for other killers. She's her own like real deal type shit.
Yeah.
Like she ignores all basic fundamentals of the game. She ignores literally everything. Like you can't pre-drop on her. You can't you can only hold W on this killer for so long before she could catch up. Um your only chance against beating a killer like this is just playing like a fucking rat. Like you have to hide, you have to use FOV blockers for the best of your ability. You
Mhm.
have to make your double backs like very unpredictable to where the nurse is gonna fuck up. Um, but even then, dude, like if you're facing a nurse that can just straight up read all of your movements, is extremely good against the double backers. They do their safe blinks, like they'll port at like one part of a wall instead of going for predictable blinks.
Mhm.
Oh, you're gonna lose.
Yeah,
Nurse
for
is
sure.
ridiculously powerful in that aspect. However, at the same time, I definitely think she takes skill.
Yeah.
I definitely think like because I'll be honest, like she's
Mhm.
not. Yeah, she's top tier, right? Yeah, she's S tier. Yeah, she's really powerful, this and that. But she's not an easy pick me killer. She's not a
Yeah.
killer that you could just instantly pick up and just start shitting on people with. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
work like that. You have to actually take your time. You got to learn her mechanics. You got to master her blinks because believe it or not, she has the highest skill ceiling in the game, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It maybe not the highest, but
Like
pretty fucking
one
high.
of them.
One of them. I don't know about the highest, but I think definitely one of them. Um, I don't think she's an easy killer to play. I mean, people can definitely say that all they wish, but
Mhm.
I think against a competent team,
Yeah.
against a team that plays very unpredictable, they know exactly how to face a nurse. They hide a lot. You know, they use aura blockers to their advantage, like distortion. They
Mhm.
use like a lot of different methods to like keep out of their eyesight or out of her eyesight because that's how nurse gets her wins. If the
Yeah.
nurse sees you, if she's like a homing missile, like a turret,
Mhm.
like if she sees you, if you get in her line of sight, you're gonna get your shit kicked in.
Mhm.
But if you hide and if you don't ever let her see you, the game becomes so much more difficult for her.
Mhm.
Like it becomes ridiculously hard for her to find you because the survivors are hiding, right?
Yeah.
And that can even trip up really good nurse players too.
Mhm.
Like if the survivors are just playing like straight up fucking rats, hiding and all that kind of stuff, and just slamming generators out like crazy, and just maintaining that stealth playstyle, and being very cautious about every single movement, they could definitely defeat a nurse. It's just not easy to do because
Yeah.
survivors make so many mistakes, right? And
Mhm.
if you make that simple mistake of the nurse seeing you even once, and I'm talking a good nurse, not a crappy nurse, but
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
good
yeah.
nurse, like if a good nurse actually sees you, you're screwed. You're fucked. You're
Mhm.
you're genuinely screwed because they're gonna see you, they're gonna blink right on top of you, they're gonna read all of your movements, and you'll go down in like 15 seconds.
Mhm.
um but that's why I like her. Like I've said, I think she's a necessary evil because survivors have like really strong shit back then, and killers didn't have anything strong. But then Nurse came out, and then that just shook the entire community, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, she's still like a fucking threat. She's still like the most dangerous presence in the game.
Yeah.
Like I love Nurse. I hate Blight, but I love Nurse because she's unique. I look at her as like the final boss of Dead by Daylight. I'll be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I
I look at
agree.
I I look at her as like the top tier evil queen of Dead by Daylight, and I fuck with it so heavy.
Mhm.
She'll always be S tier in my eyes. She'll always be really strong. I don't think they'll ever make a killer like Nurse again, and I will always like her, and I will always respect her.
That's honestly pretty fair. I like her too, honestly, and I've been trying to learn her, and it takes time. You won't pick her up and
You need
immediately
to
get
lose games
results.
before you need to lose games and learn her blinks and get that stuff down before you start winning games with Nurse.
Yeah.
Because like the first dozen games you play with Nurse, I'm sorry, but you're gonna lose. Like that's how it worked for me. Like
Mhm.
when I first played Nurse, dude, I was getting my ass eaten. It sucked. But after I like got down her blinks and I got my muscle memory down, I just started winning games so fast because that's just how she is.
Mhm.
She's a very beautiful killer in that aspect. But she's also flawed too because she doesn't play like anybody
IDC.
else. She just ignores everything and she's so ridiculously powerful.
Oh, your mic cut out. You there, AP? Let me read some stuff in chat real quick. So yes, Nurse had 7
Sorry.
blinks. Nah, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Wasn't even
Okay.
fair. I remember that. She was like a ghost. I be hearing a lot of people saying how easy she is to play now. Not now, not at all. But back then, yeah, definitely. Nurse will always be S tier. Um, hope you're doing good, my boy. I'm well. Hope you're doing good. I hope everyone's doing good today. Did you say everything you needed to about the nurse?
Yeah, I love her. I like Nurse. I really do. That's how I feel about her.
Same. All right, Miss Mercury, it's your turn.
All right, so I like if it's a mid tier, like average nurse player,
Mhm.
and you get a good map that actually has line of sight blockers, I find it really enjoyable. It's a different type of chase, because you can't loop, you can't use pallets, you can't do, you know, what you normally can do. And if you do hold W, you have to be careful because if you hold W, so somewhere that has no line of sight blockers, you're just cooked.
Yeah.
But a top tier nurse with a shitty map that's like completely open, um, like say if you get Ormond, but like with because all you got is main really,
Mhm.
you're just fucked. And I really don't enjoy that at all. But I do think she's always going to stay the same. I don't think they'll ever nerf her, and I think, like you said, they're not going to make anything else like her again.
Yeah. You wanna know how I think about Nurse? It's like playing Battleship. Like you're the little battleship, and then she's just throwing that little red ping to try to hit your battleship, and you just gotta try to like avoid it by like a little inch, or else you're just gonna keep getting hit. But I like her playstyle because you're thinking about where she's going and she's thinking about where you're going. It's like a battle of the minds. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I like as well because it's different.
Mhm.
But like I said, it's definitely a lose lose if you get a bad map.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we good to move on to Myers?
Yeah.
All right, you go first this time, Miss Mercury.
All right. I'll say this: Myers is my favorite killer to face. I absolutely love everything about Myers. Except for Tombstone. I'm not like a big Tombstone fan. I wish they would rework it to where if he stalks you enough, he can Tombstone you, but he can't like go to some AFK fucker in the corner, suck them off, and Tombstone you. I wish they would change that. But other than that, I
Yeah.
love everything about facing Myers. I don't really enjoy playing him because
Mhm.
I do feel like he's a little weak sometimes, especially if you get a big map and people know what they're doing. I don't really
Mhm.
enjoy playing him myself. But I really love the scratch mirror and the vanity mirror.
Yeah.
Myers, it's so fucking funny. I love getting jump scared by him.
Oh, I know. We had
But
a game. What was it yesterday, where I got yoinked off like
yes.
3 times. That shit was crazy.
It's like again.
That was insane. My heart kept falling to my toes.
I was screaming so much, but I did get hatched that one. I got very lucky.
Mhm.
That was a fun game, but he did bring the map. That's another thing with the map offerings changing.
Yeah.
Scratch mirror is going to be a lot more rare because they're not going to want to take a chance to get some shitty map that they can see them from a mile away. But overall, I just really love Myers.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like Myers are the equivalent of like Chad. I feel like they're just Chads.
Yeah.
All right, AP, let's hear it. You there, AP? AP? Hopefully his mic's not messing up again. But I can talk about Myers for a little bit. Myers, he was actually pretty
Sorry,
weak.
can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, my bad. My
It's your
mic is
turn, bro.
malfunctioning. I think he's corny as fuck and I hate him. But the thing is, however, I will put respect on Myers for at least like a couple of things. I can appreciate the fact that he was the first licensed killer to come into the game as a horror icon.
Yeah.
Michael Myers is definitely very popular in that aspect. He's like the reason why we're seeing all these like really cool swaggy licensed killers that are put into the game now.
Mhm.
Like Freddy, um, Dracula, that type of thing, right? Like, I think it's really cool that he was like the big introduction for that type of stuff. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and Bubba, like I love Bubba too.
Mhm.
I do respect that, and I'm very thankful for him because of that aspect. Because without him, I'll be completely real. I think if Myers was not put into the game, I don't think Dead by Daylight would be surviving nearly as long as it has been.
I 100%
I
agree.
I I I feel like if Myers was not put into this video game, Dead by Daylight would probably be not getting like 30K, 50K players on Steam average every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, with that being said, I really like that aspect about Myers. I think that's cool. But in execution, I think he's one of the most corny, boring as fuck, stupid killers in the game. I genuinely do not like him. He's not fun to play against. Tombstone is ridiculous. I've never liked it. I have always thought that shit was corny. I mean, he's not strong. Like he's not like a super oppressive killer.
Mhm.
But like what Miss Mercury said, like it's just not fun facing a dude with Tombstone that just sucks off a dude in the fucking corner of the map, gets
Yeah.
tier 3, and then someone just instantly dies at 4 or 5 gens, and you can't do shit about it. You know,
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I don't like his design very much. I mean, yeah, he's a stealth killer and stuff, sure. I mean, yeah, Tombstone could definitely be outplayed. Like you could go to lockers and stuff, sure. It definitely has its countermeasures. Um the recent change that they gave to Myers was pretty nice because they made it to where Tombstone is a little bit harder to get now.
Mhm.
They basically like made it to where you have to like stalk longer to get your Tombstone value. Um but that doesn't mean I like him. I mean, yeah, I think Myers, yeah, horror icon, this and that.
Mhm.
Introduction to DBD, yeah, I think all that stuff is really cool. I just don't like him in the game.
Yeah.
I don't like facing him in the game. And Myers mains always have like this big fucking ego for no reason. Like they always like to shake their head and teabag and hump on the floor and stuff, and they think they're such hot shit because they're playing a low tier killer.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think he's overrated and corny as fuck, and I just don't like him in Dead by Daylight. I like the movies though. The movies are really cool. Like I love Myers movies. I just don't like
Yeah.
him in Dead by Daylight,
I got a
and
funny
that's how I feel about him.
I got a funny story about like you guys saying you'd suck off someone in the corner and then come tombstone you. I remember I was playing with one of my friends a long time ago. This is probably like 5 years from now when I first started playing. But I kind of like started to understand what killer's powers were. And my friend was like, I think he's friendly. And then we were playing Midwich, and I look, and he's doing the slow walk, the stalk walk, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I think he's friendly. I'm like, no, 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 he's not friendly. He's stalking you. Like, you gotta dip. He's gonna kill you. And then, in like 5 seconds, 6 seconds after, the homie gets picked up and killed. I was like, yeah, he's not playing DBD anymore. It was just so funny. He just instantly got KO'd out the game and didn't even know what the hell happened. But I think we're good to move on to the next killer. The Hag. You go first, AP.
I think Hag is a very interesting killer. I like some things about her, and I feel like she's probably a much, much, much more complicated version of Trapper.
Mhm.
Um, I think she's balanced too. I don't think she's like really strong, but the interesting thing with her is if you let her get her web going, she could be very oppressive and really lethal to deal with. Like if she gets her web going, and if you don't put a stop to those hex traps and stuff, she's gonna just rock your shit. Like the game just gets really tough to deal with, and her hit and run strategy can also be very dangerous too. She can also have like traps put along like a path to where she's predicting to where survivors are gonna go. Um, and she could just like destroy them because of that.
Mhm.
Hags that play like that, I think, are very impressive. Like 110 slow hag but playing off traps.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. Like I respect hag players that do that.
Mhm.
However, I don't respect clock shoe hags. I think clock shoe hag is really stupid. I don't think like you're playing hag. You're literally playing chag, and that's like a different killer. You're not
Are you
playing.
talking about the one that blocks the?
No, dude, I'm talking the
Okay.
one where she moves 117.
Okay. Okay.
I'm talking like the Eerie add-on where she doesn't use traps. She just moves fast and just fucking hits you and just runs up on you. Like I think that add-on is really stupid.
The
I mean,
waterlogged shoe.
yeah, dude, I think that's really dumb. Only because of the simple fact that like all it does
Oh
is
yeah, I
just
see.
it just makes her like faster than your regular M1 killer, and you just don't put traps down. Like you just run up on people and you just whack them. You just whack them, and it's
Mhm.
stupid in my opinion. But if hags play like regular like trap hag and they like strategically outsmart the survivors and fuck them up with traps, I think that's really cool to witness.
Mhm.
But like I said, she's really hard to play. And ever since like Boons came to the game, she was just like, she used to be at a very nasty killer and powerful killer at one point, but once Boons got like introduced, she just like she just kind of
She
like
shit the bed.
dropped. Yeah, dude, she really did. Like she just kind of dropped, and it's why you don't see people play her hardly at all. I like Hag. I respect Hag. I like her cosmetics, and I think her lore is cool.
Mhm.
Um, I have my loves for her. I just wish she was a little bit stronger. That's how I feel about her.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
is she fun to face? Not really.
Mhm.
She's not fun to face. I mean, yeah, she's a 110 killer. She's really slow.
Mhm.
If you keep tripping up her traps, she can't really do anything. Like the counterplay is definitely very like interesting. You could like tick off her traps and then force her to chase you with her 110 slow as hell movement speed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the counterplay is pretty fair in a sense. It's just all about positioning and how she puts you into that position and how far down you are in her web. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just you just have to be careful of the web because like if you
Mhm.
tick off a web and then she pops on top of you and whacks you and then you just keep running into her web even more, she's just gonna bite you like a spider and just wrap you up and then put you on a hook.
Mhm.
I view Hag as a spider killer because she plays like a spider.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Hag. I think she's cool.
Hey, what do you think about this build on Hag, alright? I have sloppy,
Well, well,
knockout,
dude,
unbound,
well,
and
dude. I
bam.
mean, that's a cool build, but knockout's gonna get nerfed, so it's gonna be useless.
Oh yeah, but like current state, like that shit kind of fun though.
It's fun, yeah, I agree. Throw on Deerstalker on that, and you got a build.
Oh yeah, but I like Unbound though. So when I injure him, I hit him with Bamboozle to block the window, and I get the haste, the 10%
Oh, that's
haste,
smart.
or was it 5% haste for 10 seconds? So I got a
That's a
little bit
terrible
of
perk.
chase and a little bit of knockout. Hey, but I be setting up the spider web on the person with the most bleed out bar.
Is knockout gonna get nerfed? They're completely removing the blindness effect, and they're replacing it with a really stupid one. They're
Yeah.
literally gonna make it to where if a survivor drops a pallet, and if they move 4 meters away from it, they get hindered for 5% for like 5 seconds. It's so stupid. It would be a perk like that would only be good on like Bubba or Knight, where they could just break pallets and force people to W key away. Otherwise, it's a really stupid as fuck change, and it doesn't even make any sense to the name.
Hmm.
Like when I hear knockout, I think of them knocking you out,
Yeah.
like downing you, like hitting you, like the original intention of the perk. I don't think when I hear knockout, I don't think
On.
them
I think my
dropping a pallet
breakfast
and
is here.
running the fuck away and getting hindered. I don't think about
Thank
that.
you. Hmm.
But anyways, yeah,
What
that's
do
how I
you
feel.
got to say about Hag, Miss Mercury?
I don't have much to say about her, but I do enjoy facing her. She's kind of fun to play, um,
She is.
especially if you get an indoor map or something. Um, I do remember that one time we thought we were doing so good against that hag with the silent traps, and then out of nowhere we all got shit on. That was so intense. Like we thought we were so good, and then she just comes out of left field and fucks us up. And I think that's kind of funny. Like it's kind of funny when a killer can do that. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like her specialty is to make you think that you're hot shit and you're doing so good just to come like last second and fuck you up.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
but like if you're really good and you edge map when you're walking around and getting unhooks and stuff like that, she does have counterplay in that sense, and I think
Hmm.
she's fun. I don't really
I
have
think she
much
is
else to
too.
say. I like her.
Alright, let's go to the doctor. You go first this time, Miss Mercury.
I really like the Doctor. I'm not very good at facing him, but I do like a lot about him. He's fun to play as well, especially if you play friendly. He just annoy the shit out of the survivors.
Make him scream.
But I just make us scream over and over, and it's just so funny. I do have a big, very, very big pet peeve with him is that I don't like he can stand at the hook and shock and prevent you from unhooking. I don't like any killer that can prevent you from unhooking. But other than that, I think he's fun. I like the buffs they gave to his ability that if he uses his shot blast, it doesn't hit anyone, you get it back quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's still just an M1 killer. And I find him really scary, especially if you get a stealth build. I really like facing him. I wish more people played him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I like facing him, and not that much people play him. Kelly said OG Doctor was not good, but now he's better. Yeah, now he's a lot better. Back then, he was just for farming, basically. Is that all you had to say about the Doctor, Miss Mercury?
Yeah, that's it. I give him a thumbs up.
Give him a thumbs up. Alright, AP, what do you got on the Doctor?
I love him. He's wonderful. Really cool killer, really cool kit. He could definitely inflict like a nasty status effect across the entire map.
Yeah.
His anti-loop is very cool, and you can definitely make for some insane mind games with it. He could shut down certain tiles and stuff. He definitely still has counterplay, like, the pre-dropping and shit. Um, but I love his kit. I love his like overall lore. I think he's got really fire cosmetics.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not played that much, and I'm
Nope.
shocked because he's actually not a bad killer. Like he can actually do pretty dang well. He can stand up for himself, especially ever since he gotten those nice buffs. Like he got a range buff, he got like a cooldown buff, his static blast got buff, like his like they did Doctor really nicely. Like they tweaked the boy up.
Yeah.
Um but I think he's really cool. I love his design, and I would always love slugging with him too.
Yeah.
Slugging with him was really fun. I really enjoyed playing Doctor, and whenever I do play him, it's always a fun time. I think he's very fun and awesome. Um, if I would P100 him one day, honestly, I probably would. Um, it's just, you know, I don't play DBD that much because I always work like crazy. I'm a night shift worker, so it's like if I did have more time, I would be so down to P100 him because I just love the complexity of his kit.
Yeah.
And his add-ons also can bring around like new playstyles too. Like he has so many different variations and ways that you could play him, and he's very, very complex. Like I think
Oh,
he's like
yeah.
up there with Pinhead in terms of like complexity.
Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
think I think I think I think him and Pinhead are like around the same level when it comes to like learning stuff and mastering and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um Very beautiful killer. I really love him.
Yeah, and
Really
his lore is
fun.
pretty nice, too.
Oh yeah, he's just an evil ass motherfucker.
Yep. That
He's
what
just
he did, like experiments for the
he
CIA.
like he wasn't like a good person, corrupted. No, dude, he was evil through and through.
Mhm.
Bro was evil through and through. And the interesting detail about him too is the reason why his eyes and his teeth are pried open and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it's because like that's the same shit that he would do to people.
Yeah.
Like the entity was basically punishing him for that, and they always wanted him to focus on his prey type stuff. I think that's what it said in the lore. Very interesting design.
Yeah, for
Really
sure.
cool killer. I love Herman. I really do. I will always love Herman for as long as I live.
That's fair. I like him too. Thumbs up to Doctor. What about Bubba? You can
Me?
go first, yeah, because you're the Bubba main here.
Oh, Bubba. I love him in some ways. I think he's pretty cool when it comes to him being like another licensed killer. I mean, when he first released, he was really fucking bad. Like he didn't have good chainsaw sweeps. I thought he was awesome like as a first release, but he just wasn't strong.
Mhm.
However, I still love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the movies and stuff, so it was really cool to see him come to the game. Bubba, as of right now, I mean, he's cool, right? Like I love his very, very simplistic design. He's just not strong. Like he's not
Yeah.
powerful, but it's like he's still good at camping though. Okay,
Mhm.
there was one thing that I thought was a little bit corny about Bubba, and it was like the old basement camping shit. Like the old basement Bubba camping shit was pretty corny. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that stuff was corny. But at the same time, like if you get put into a basement by a Bubba, that's kind of your fault
Mhm.
because you didn't like loop him good enough, you know. And Bubba's probably like the easiest killer in the game to loop. He's probably like the most predictable and easy killer in the game to loop. Like he's very, very basic in that regard.
Yeah.
However, like I've always stated, he's a punishment killer. Like that's the only way that he can get his downs and his victories and his kills um is by catching the survivor's mistakes. Like if the survivor fucks up and if they make a lot of mistakes, he could punish that severely and it'll give him so much pressure because of it. However, if the survivors play perfectly, you know, they don't overgreed, you know, they like drop a pallet when they're supposed to, right? Like they use strong windows, Bubba's gonna struggle. Um Super fun killer to face though. I mean, I always really love facing a Bubba, even if they like shit on me early and camp me out.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's really cool, and I've shockingly been playing against quite a bit. I like. I've always loved Bubba, and I P100 him. Like I played him a lot. You know,
Mhm.
I used to play Bubba like a crap ton. You know, and I would chew on pallets for breakfast. He's.
Oh yeah.
I think he's cool. Like I like him. I just wish he was a little stronger. You know.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I also think he's fine just the way that he is because like I've mentioned, um survivors make mistakes all the fucking time when they play this game. Like nobody is perfect when they play DBD as a survivor, so it's like the survivor's always going to make a mistake and they're just going to get their ass ripped by a chainsaw, you know.
Yeah.
So so I think that balances itself out in a way. Like he's definitely like a straight up noob stomper like Wraith, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he could just eradicate noobs left and right, but against stronger teams, he kind of just gets bullied unless he gets like a really good edge
Mhm.
against them, you know, or a really good advantage against them pretty early on. But yeah, I like Bubba. I think he's cool. I've always enjoyed the Bubba.
I personally like the basement camping Bubba. I remember when he would do that to me, I would be like, "Look, he loves me," and then they would just see him sitting on top of basement. Like, bro, I don't think that's what he likes, but you know, whatever. And I'm like, bro, trust me, he loves me. What do you got to say, Miss Mercury? Let's hear your Bubba take.
All right. Well, when I was newer to DBD, one of my biggest complaints was face camping Bubba. I swear I posted about it on Twitter so many times that I feel like I'm one of the reasons why they did the anti face camping thing because I would always just post my poor Sheva and a Bubba literally just right at my fucking
I
hook,
mean,
like
I'm with
literally.
you on that.
I hated that. I'm like, dude, really again? Um, which it did have its little counterplay with Gen Rush, but nobody would ever Gen Rush in solo queue. They'd all just swarm the hook and everyone's dead because everyone just plays dumb as hell.
Yep.
And it was just
Yeah.
like so frustrating because if you do Gen Rush, face camping Bubba, you can win very easily. But like I said, nobody ever does that. Their altruism is too high. They never want to leave anybody behind.
Mhm.
um and it was just very frustrating. It was one of the things I really 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 disliked, and I was very glad they added the change because like people always say it's anti-camping, but it's anti-face camping because you can still proxy camp well if you're huntress or some other range killer. You can still cut
Mhm.
people off and still get some value out of camping, but I really hated the face camping with Bubba because it was really 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 hard to be there and just not be able to say, "Hey, don't come get me. Just do gens." Like I just want to be like, "Hey, do gens, get out. I'm okay with dying." But then like everyone's coming to die for me, and I'm just helpless.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they changed that. I play Bubba myself. He's one of my favorite killers to play. When I first picked him up, I found him very very difficult.
Mhm.
I couldn't hit anyone with a chainsaw. I was total moron. But once I got into it, and then of course he had the buff as well recently where he doesn't get hit as much, doesn't tantrum as much. Very
Yeah, that was
enjoyable
a
killer to
W
play.
buff.
Yeah, that was very nice. He's very enjoyable to play. Facing against, I'm very bad against Bubba. I don't make very good decisions in chase, but I don't like groan like I do with a Billy. At least a Bubba has to catch you off guard. They have to have that Trail of Torment catch you off guard,
Yeah.
or something like that. Like you have to, just make a bunch of mistakes. But even then, I think he's more enjoyable than some of the other killers, even if I'm not as good to face against him. But
Yeah.
I like Bubba a lot. I give him a thumbs up too.
And he still has to leg it, you know? Like, even if he gets a knock instantly, he still has to leg it to the other side of the map to start creating pressure. He can't just, like, teleport like Nurse or dash across like Billy. He still has to, like, chuck over there. And they can see him from quite a bit away.
And he's fat as hell in his yellow ass outfit.
Yeah, he's definitely noticeable.
Dude, I'll take a fucking Bubba over a Billy any day, every
Oh,
hour,
yeah.
any minute of the week, dude.
I
It's just
100%
it's
agree.
like it's like you'll get a really fun, engaging, and cool ass chase with Bubba, but when you play against a Billy, all you're gonna do is just fucking pre-drop and just play boring, you know? I always love facing Bubbas. Like Bubba chases are super fun because you're either gonna loop them a super long ass time,
Emigrant
or you
vibes.
make the obvious mistake and then you just get camped out for the rest of the game. But that's why it's so fun because like if you loop the killer for such a long ass time, you're gonna get a super fun chase out of it. Or if you mess up really early on, you're gonna pay the price by getting camped the fuck out.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of like the cool side of Bubba, you know? It's
Hmm.
why I can appreciate him as a killer, and it's why I can like respect him more because, like you said, like he has to kind of work his butt off to catch a good survivor, you know, whether he has to hammer time them, you know?
Yeah.
Like he either has to hammer time them or like get a straight up like lucky chainsaw hit.
Wait,
Because
they.
against a good ass squad, it's so hard to get a chainsaw hit against like
Mhm.
them just abusing windows and all that shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, Bubba I think is perfect for Dead by Daylight. I think he's really cool, and there's a reason why many people love him. There's a reason. I mean, I remember Bubba used to get like super hated on with like the face camping shit, and I'll be honest,
Hmm.
I didn't like it either. I thought that was corny. But ever since they've like implemented that, people started to like really warm up to Bubba a lot more. If you hadn't noticed,
Yeah. I've always
people have
liked
definitely
Bubba
warmed
though.
up to Bubba like even more. And the way I look at it is like good players have always really liked Bubba because they know that he's like a fucking hard killer to play against good teams with.
Hmm.
That's why they like Bubba. Like good players like Bubba. Good players love and can appreciate Bubba because of his core design. You know, bad players they hate Bubba because they simply couldn't outplay him. You know,
Yeah,
they
for
couldn't
sure.
outplay him. They couldn't like run tiles good enough, and they made a mistake onto him. That's why they hated him. But anyways, yeah, I love Bubba. I think he's cool.
All right, next is Huntress. Miss Mercury, you can go first on this one.
Oh, hang on
I
a
feel
second.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
no worries,
sorry.
AP.
I feel like my opinion is going to be different than most people. I absolutely love Huntress. I love playing Huntress. I love facing Huntress. I have this one clip of this one Huntress that was trying so hard to hit me with her hatchets, and I dodged all 7 of them. I didn't think she needed the extra hatchets buff, but as an player, so whatever, it doesn't bother me. I really enjoy facing her. I think it's really fun to dodge hatchets,
Hmm.
fun to throw hatchets. She's a little bit slower, so like when I play her, I get kind of shit on at Shack and main, so I just gotta like
Oh
run away.
yeah, for sure.
um, but I really really enjoy everything about Huntress. I know a lot of people really really hate Huntress because obviously if they're standing at the hook with the hatchet, you usually just have to take the 3 out or something because there's not really much you can do about that unless you just get really lucky and she does really badly.
Hmm.
Um, but I really, I just really like her. That's all I gotta say. I guess I really enjoy Huntress.
I do too. She's really enjoyable. On both sides, going against her and playing her.
I know a lot of people that are like Huntress equals DC,
Hmm.
or go next or something. But I personally love her because it's like, yeah, she is strong. And sometimes you get some shitty like lag hits or ping hits, especially if you're playing on a different server. The killer has terrible ping, and those can be frustrating. But I don't know. I just really enjoy it just so much.
I feel like for Huntress, you kind of need like haste perks, you know? Like remember when me and Lavish played and you were with us and we were doing that teamwork power of 2 and blood pack and she couldn't do
Oh
anything.
yeah,
She was literally
she was
she
cooked.
was done. And she called us babies and stuff, but it's like in my opinion we brought the right stuff for a Huntress, you know?
Oh, exactly.
But I feel like
That was a
Huntress
really fun match.
struggles against like exhaustions and those type of perks that increase your haste by a little bit because she's already slow, right? And then when she pulls out her
Yeah.
hatchet, she's slower. And she gets bloodlust, but bloodlust doesn't work when she's got her hatchet pulled back. And I also like Insomdot. I like going against Insomdot. I think he's like one of the coolest huntresses that I've ever faced on NA West. Because when I get hit by like a hatchet at 60 meters out, I'm like, that's Insomdot. Because most huntresses, I'm sure you can agree with this, but they hit you from like 10 meters away, you know? They get right up on you, hit you with the hatchet. They usually don't go
Yeah.
for snipes or far hits, but when they do, you know, like, oh, that's a huntress main. They
Mm-hmm.
know like how high they need to aim up, where that hatchet's gonna hit before they even throw that hatchet. I really like Huntress. I would definitely say she's a really fun killer. And from someone who used to play Call of Duty and still plays Call of
I'm
Duty,
back.
the hatchet throwing is so satisfying.
Yeah.
All right, AP, what are your
Can you hear
takes
me?
on? Yeah, yeah, I hear you. What's your take on the Huntress?
Um, I mean, I think she's pretty overrated to be honest with you, but she's cool. I mean, she's a 110 killer. She could be like devastating to face if you're out in the open, but literally just don't put yourself in that situation. Um, I mean, I think Eerie Hatchet or whatever you call it. I think that's kind of like a stupid add-on, but at the same time,
Mhm.
it's only one hatchet, so it's not that terrible. Um, However, before it used to be like three hatchets, and
Yeah, I
that
was
shit was
about to
stupid.
bring that up. That
That shit
was
was stupid. Like,
crazy.
like I can't even believe they allowed that. And at one point, like you could just bring Eerie and just insta down them, and she didn't even have like an axe limit. I think. Um, I don't know. I don't have like a lot to say about her. I think like I'm okay with facing her. Like I'm okay
Mhm.
with facing a huntress because you could detect her very early on. She's a slow killer. You can hug walls very tightly to counteract her. You could play very greedy with pallets, but sometimes huntresses will be crazy and just fucking swing at you. So
Mhm.
it's like you kind of just have to play that way. Um, but I think she's all right. I think
Yeah.
she's okay.
And one thing with Huntress is she's kind of got like that Chucky thing going on where when she pulls up, she starts humming. So like even if she's rocking undetectable, you still know she's in your radius because she's humming.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Like she's
mhm.
a pretty predictable killer too, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 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 if you're facing a huntress, you'll just immediately know that it's her because of that lullaby.
Yeah.
And it's different from a terror radius. Like lullabies and terror radiuses are surprisingly different.
Yeah.
Um lullabies, like you'll hear them, and if you have that heartbeat indicator on, like you'll hear it, but you're not going to hear the heartbeat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what a lullaby is. Like a lullaby is like you can hear it, but your heartbeat isn't going off. But a terror radius, like that's a heartbeat, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense, but
No, no, I
that's like the
get you.
difference.
All
But
right.
yeah, I mean, I think Huntress is okay. I think she's fine.
Yeah, same. Now, this one I do got stuff to say about, but I'm gonna let you take it away on this one. The nightmare, Freddy.
Who, me?
Mhm.
Dude, I'll be completely honest. Back then, when I used to play on console, I fucked with Freddy.
Mhm.
Even though he was weak, even though he wasn't good. I loved the concept of him being like an invisible killer and him just literally like trying to put you to sleep before he like reveals himself and can actually damage you. I know it wasn't strong, like it was actually really weak as shit.
Yeah.
But it was a super cool, like unique type of thing that they tried back then, you know?
Mhm.
And I would be so down with like the devs trying something like that again in the future, but I mean, it's been several years and we haven't seen anything like that, so I kind of give up on that notion.
Mhm.
Um, I think Freddy has came a very long journey to get to where he's at right now, to be quite honest with you. He's had very interesting like changes, like in the beginning he was weak as shit, and then
Yeah.
he received like a change, but then he became like a really ugly, unfun killer to face with like the Forever Freddy incident.
Oh yeah,
That shit was
yeah.
like that shit was ridiculous. Forever
Everyone
Freddy was
played
not
Freddy.
fun, dude. Oh, Forever Freddy was horrible. But then obviously, they nerfed that, they nerfed Ruin, they nerfed all of that stuff, and so on and so forth. And so that meta's been long gone.
Yeah.
And then Freddy for some reason just stayed as like a super weak killer for so many years.
Old
He
Ruin
literally
was meta. That's all I gotta
I
say
love
about
I
it.
they didn't even need to ruin like that, man. I'm sorry, but Ruin was fine.
Yeah.
It was a hex totem. Like you could literally just cleanse it and you just take out a perk. Like that's all you gotta do.
Mhm.
Um but anyways, definitely came a long journey to get to where he is right now. Like
Yeah.
he suffered a lot. Like he suffered so much. Um to the point to where now he finally has like the light. He finally is able to like do better. Like he actually has a couple tiers up in like the tier list, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he went from like the bottom three stooges of killers to at least like a B,
Yeah,
honestly.
you wanna know where I would put him? I would put him like right above Clown or behind Clown. But, like wherever Clown is,
I
I
think
think
that's a
that's where
very
he
fair
is.
placement too. Like honestly,
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair placement because he plays similar. Like if he
Yeah.
puts you to sleep, he could just slow you down, right?
Mhm.
However, at the same time, like if you just stay awake, then Freddy isn't all that good,
Yeah, he
right?
becomes weak.
If if you stay awake, Freddy can't really do much against you. But if you're in the nightmare world, oh, he's just gonna clap you the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah, for
You're you're
sure.
you're just you're just gonna go
You're not
down.
gonna be able
And
to heal. You're not gonna be able to
nope,
stay
he could
alive and
teleport right on
chase.
top of you, which is very interesting. He could teleport right on top of you if you're healing, and
Yeah.
he could throw up fucking detonation bombs on pallets, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's so cool when you see survivors go down to that.
He's like he's the only killer that can do something like too, and I think that's like really awesome that they decided to implement that.
Hmm.
Um, I like Freddy. I've always thought Freddy was really cool. I just
Yeah.
think I just he doesn't have cosmetics. I don't really see much of a reason to play him because like he's just you know he's like a white paint. Like he's super bland.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'll admit, like Dreamworld is very pretty. Like Dreamworld is really cool and pretty. I love Freddy in the movies.
Yeah,
He
same.
just he just doesn't have cosmetics. He was like a super weak killer, and then now all of a sudden he's like kind of stronger because
Hmm.
of it. Um, and it's like I love the changes they gave to him.
Yeah.
I just wish they gave the man more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like I love Freddy. I think he's cool and all that, but it just feels like there's something missing with him all the time.
Hmm.
Like if it always feels like there's something lacking with him because he's just such an old fucking killer.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about Freddy that's like out of the game is he's one of the only killers that has like a good sense of humor. I remember when I was growing
He
up
doesn't
with
have voice lines, sadly.
Oh, I know, but I remember growing up with my brother, right? He was a huge Jason fan, and I'm a huge Jason fan too, but I would always pick Freddy over Jason cuz like Jason, he's just like one of those killers that doesn't talk, just goes around killing like a basic Michael Myers or Bubba or like any of those other killers that don't say anything, but they just kill people, you know? But yet Freddy, he'll freaking like mock them. He'll use like their weaknesses against them. Like if they like women, he'll show them a real beautiful woman and then be that woman, you know, and be killing them. Or like one of the funniest kills ever on the show is when that one chick or that one kid, he's like in a wheelchair in the sale asylum, but when he's asleep he's like a wizard and shit and thinks he's like a World of Warcraft wizard. But then Freddy chased him with the wheelchair. I was like, bro, what am I watching? Like, ain't no way. I was like, Myers ain't gonna chase a kid in a wheelchair with a wheelchair. Neither is Jason. That's when I was like, I like this dude, bro. He's funny. But yeah, Freddy's got a good sense of humor. What do you gotta say, Miss Mercury?
I don't have as much to say as you guys because I wasn't there when because I started like late 2022. I wasn't there when Forever Freddy like existed.
Oh, that's fine.
Um, so I don't really
Be
know
glad you
any.
weren't.
Trust me, from what I've heard, very glad. But so I can't really compare all the different stages or anything. But Freddy was one of the first killers I picked up when I was new. I found him very easy to play. And of course, I had baby survivors, so I found him really, really fun. Not a lot of people played old Freddy. There's just the Freddy mains, and that's really it back then. So not a lot of people played him. Um, but like, I haven't tried to play him personally since the buff.
He's actually
I
a
just
lot of
haven't
fun now.
really. Yeah, I just haven't had any interest because I don't know. I don't like the snare thing because I know I would miss every single one, and I feel like that would make me mauled. Even though it doesn't look that hard to hit, with my lag and everything, I don't know. I just haven't been excited to try it. But I do like facing him. He does seem kind of strong. I don't like that. Same thing as the doctor. I don't like that he can throw that snare at you as you're unhooking and cancel your unhook. And if you're injured, then you're just dead. So he can like hit you, throw the snare at you, prevent your unhook, and then hit you again. I really, really, really dislike that. Um, but other than that, it's fine. I do think we go to sleep really quickly. Like it just takes like one hit, unless
Oh
you've
yeah.
just unless you've just like woke up with a machine. If somebody else wakes you up, like I had someone else wake me up and then he hit me and I'm instantly asleep. I don't really enjoy that, especially with like I don't like the new add-ons where he can just see you entirely if you're asleep because you go to sleep so quickly and then he can just teleport to like any gen and you know not my favorite since distortion was nerfed and all that. But other than that, I don't mind facing him now that people got it out of their system and tried him. You don't see
Yeah.
him that much anymore, so I don't mind facing him. Really, it's okay. I don't really give him a thumbs up or a thumbs down. He's just there, you know.
Yeah. I would say like he's fun to play. Going against him's nice now, but when he was like really popularized because of the like buff that he really deserved, so many people were playing Freddy for like 2 weeks, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. Like it was just literally Freddy being spammed out, which I thought was okay, but I didn't want to go against Freddy every game, you know. But
Yeah, that
yeah,
was extremely boring. It was just nothing but Freddy.
yeah. But let's move on to the pig. The pig is a killer that I really personally enjoy. I'll
I wonder why. I
oh
wonder why
yeah.
you like the pig.
I'll give a little rundown of why I like him. I'll start off on this one. The pig has been one of the first ever killers I played. Like if you go back to like some of my oldest VODs, you'll see me playing pig like 5 years ago. And I just always liked them. I remember when I first went against a pig and they put the reverse bear trap on my head. I was like, "Oh shit, that's from the movie." I was all telling Oreo, "Yo, they put the trap on my head from the movie, bro." I was like, "Once you get off, I'm buying that killer, bro, and I'm putting head traps on survivors. That is dope." And I've always been a fan of Amanda, particularly. She was like my favorite version of the pig. She was like the pig that didn't let people escape, you know? She would always rig her traps and like purposefully kill the people that should have won their games. And I remember John Kramer, he didn't like that about her, but me personally, I fucked with that. But yeah, I've always liked the movies. I've watched all of them numerous times. I like the reverse bear traps being placed on Survivor's head. But her like overall, she's more of a weaker killer. But I like how there's like two ways to play her. There's the head popping way, where you give yourself basically head traps that take I think it's 35% longer to take off, and you can take off 20 seconds off their time. So, like, you can almost guarantee a head trap. And then there's the other way where you play with Amanda's letter and, like, John's medical file and just, like, cruise in a lowrider and they don't even hear you coming, and then boom, you're on them. It's basically like the knockoff Scratch Mirror Myers. But yeah, that's what I gotta say about her. What do you gotta say about her, Miss Mercury? Hey, what up, Lavish?
I absolutely love the pig. Definitely double thumbs up for her. Um, after I got done messing around with Freddy, I started trying pig, and I absolutely love the head trap. That 125 head trap achievement, I absolutely love doing that. That was so much fun. I had so much fun playing her, and I always play without add-ons too because I don't spend a lot of points on killer because I just spend too much on survivor, especially when I was newer.
Mhm.
And even though she is weaker, it was a lot of fun sneaking up on people and pulling them off gens. And um, she's a lot of fun. And I really love playing against her too. I'm not a fan of like the anti head trap thing where you're screaming and you can't get the
Oh
thing off your
yeah, the
head.
Phase of Darkness one.
Yeah, but I still like no matter what version it is, I still really, really enjoy Pig. I will
Mhm.
take any Pig that gets
Yeah,
offered. I wish more people played her. I absolutely love playing
I
as her
missed
and
you. I
facing
miss
her.
you too, Lavish. Off topic, but did you see the emo Lavish put in chat? It's like a girl bopping out in her gaming chair. Ain't no
Yeah.
way. But
That's funny.
Lavish, I was talking about you earlier on this stream, how we looped that Huntress with Teamwork Power of 2 and Blood Pack all game. That shit was crazy. You put the pig emote, let's go. Alright, did you have anything else to say about her, Miss Mercury?
No, that's it. I
Alright,
really like
AP,
her.
what do you got to say about my girl?
I really like her simplistic design, and I also love the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously is like another license. The cool thing about Pig 2 is I think she also introduced a lot more players to the community that really enjoyed the Saw movies.
Oh yeah, for
I think
sure.
I think her addition to the game, it's kind of similar to Myers in that aspect, to where like you have this fairly big license that a lot of people are a fan of when it comes to the horror genre,
Mm-hmm.
and then you introduce them to this asymmetrical game, and so people are most definitely going to buy into that.
Yeah.
And then when they have a kit that's like similar to the movies, like the head trap shit, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty dope. It's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
and it's fun. It's fun. Like, like mentioned, she's not like a strong killer or anything, but I gotta say, like, slapping helmets on people's heads is really fun.
It is.
You're literally just giving them like VR headsets, you know.
Yeah.
You, you literally just give them like birthday hats or whatever you call them. Like they have so many different nicknames for helmets.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
I think she has a really interesting design. She's very simple, but like her head traps are definitely what make the game like complex. Um, there's so many like different mind games, or so many different like uh pressure games, if that makes sense, that you can make from like having helmets on people. Like for example, like let's say you got a helmet on a dude,
Mm-hmm.
and then like somebody is slugged, and then somebody's hooked, and then somebody's getting tunneled out. Like that person who's like trying to get that helmet off, and if it's activated, they have to like make so many quick decisions, because if they don't make the right decision, their team is either going to lose or they're going to fucking die because of the helmet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
like there's a lot of interesting and very complex situations like to where I really love the pig,
Mhm.
and I love that stressful aspect to where like similar to the Saw movies where you're playing the game
Mhm.
and if you don't complete this puzzle in XYZ amount of time, you're gonna die or you're gonna have to sacrifice something, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how this killer plays. She plays exactly like that. She
Mhm.
forces the survivors to either play selfishly to get their helmet off, or they have to do generators, or they have to go for saves while their helmet is fucking activated.
Yeah.
Like the perk make your choice.
Mhm.
Like you have to make your choices. You
Yeah.
have to make you have to make so many decisions when you have those traps activated,
Mhm.
and it's really cool because it ties into her lore. Like the
Yeah.
game, like her kit and her gameplay fits her. Her cosmetics are a W. Very simplistic design. She's from the movies. I think she's great. I mean, she's not strong, right? She's probably the worst stealth killer in the game,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
but but I can really appreciate her, and I could definitely love her because of what she's brought to the table when it comes to Dead by Daylight.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love the pig. I very much appreciate her, and I think she's really cool.
Same. And like I didn't really think about that too much, but that aspect of like having to
You
go
see my
for
point,
yeah,
though.
yeah, having to go for a save with the arm trap, and then like you're starting to sweat a bit because your timer's going down like
Yep.
crazy, and you know you
Yeah,
can
dude.
only search like one more box, but there's three
Yeah,
more on the field. So if
yeah,
you don't
dude.
get it that time, you're dead.
Just like just like the fucking movies.
Yeah.
It's that's why I like her because I look into it that deep.
Mhm.
I That's why I really appreciate her because she plays just like she would in the movies. Like she forces if she gets downs, of course, right? Like if she
Yeah.
gets down and she gives them party hats, then it can create that really stressful fucking pressure. But if she can't do that, then she becomes, a really basic killer.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, like if you tunnel, like she's pretty nice at tunneling too. Like, if you have somebody with a helmet on and if you just only chase them for the entire game,
Mhm.
you have like a 95% chance you're going to get at least one kill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're basically almost always guaranteed a kill if you have somebody on a helmet and you're always chasing them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, I love Pig. I think she's cool.
Hell yeah. That shit was fun, for sure, Lavish. Alright, AP, I'll let you start with this one because I know you love this dude. The clown.
Oh, dude, I love Clown so fucking much. I think he's a really cool ass killer. Um, I love the fact that he's also like a reference to John Wayne Gacy, who's like a real
Oh,
life
yeah.
type of guy. He's like a big time reference to him.
Mhm.
Um, and his lore is also pretty sad too, and it's like really fucking dark.
Yeah.
He's also got really flashy and cool cosmetics. I
Mhm.
love his kit. I love this. Like it's a very simple power on paper, but it's actually very complex if you really think about it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he throws a bottle and it slows you down, and then he throws a speed bottle which speeds him up. And if you combine the two, he could just absolutely destroy you.
Yeah.
I think he has a very strong and very nasty, effective 1v1 tunneling game. I think he's very good at doing that.
Yeah.
I think he's phenomenal at targeting one survivor and just absolutely wrecking their shit, wrecking face.
Mhm.
But he's not so good in a 4v1 aspect because, like I said, he can just get gen rush. Like
Yeah.
I don't think he doesn't. He has like very basic map mobility. Like, yeah, he's got a very nice chase ability when it comes to a singular survivor, right? Which is
Mhm.
why I consider him B tier. But I can't rake him any higher than that because, like I've mentioned, his 1v4 game isn't the best.
Yeah.
However, like I said, if he can quickly like get a survivor out of the game, then what does it even matter at that point? Like he'll just
Mhm.
snowball. Like if you quickly get that one survivor tunneled straight out the game and you just go after somebody else, then you're going to get that instant 4K pressure.
Yeah.
Um, but I think he's super cool. I love his lore. I love the way that you can play with him. Like you can manipulate tiles in your favor.
Mhm.
Um, is he fun to face? I mean, it depends. You have to play boring against Clown. You have to camp god tiles against him, and if you end up being in shorter tiles, you have to just greed pallets because you can't loop him.
Yeah.
You can't loop him. Like you just have to play very boring against him, and you have to like vault windows very, very carefully and stuff.
Mhm.
And you know, I mean, playing as Clown is really cool, but playing against Clown, it could depend.
Yeah.
I mean, it can depend. I mean, you just have to like pull forward a lot, and you have to like W key on him like crazy with exhaustion and stuff, and you have to just camp pallets. Like he definitely has counterplay, but it can be hard to counter a Clown that could straight up hard tunnel and is always right up your butthole every second of the chase. You know.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but I love Clown. I really appreciate him, and I actually, and believe it or not, he's actually my number one favorite killer in the game to face. I
That's
know that
crazy.
sounds that is crazy, but I love facing him though. I
Yeah.
mean, for other people hate him, but I personally love facing Clown. I think he's my number one favorite killer in the game to face, because he challenges my looping and he challenges like my actual chase as a survivor, right? Like he gives me
Yeah.
that challenge. Like when I win a chase against a Clown, it feels so good.
Mhm.
Like it feels so good winning against a Clown when it comes to chase because of the fact they can just catch up to you very quickly and they can just slow you down and crap on you.
Mhm.
Um, but if you can like win a good chase against a Clown, I can tell you right now, it's such a feels good.
Mhm.
But you can't loop him though. That's like the only thing. You can't loop him. Like you have to
Yeah.
force him to break pallets and shit. You have to drop god tiles and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, Clown's the homie. I
And
really love him.
what I will say about Clown too is no one plays him. Like I
I'm shocked.
rarely get a Clown, and if I do, he's not like that good, you know? He's not
He's
utilizing
yeah,
both bottles. He's just spamming the
no,
slowdown one.
just spamming purple bottles and not even
Yeah.
trying to go for like mind games with the yellow one. Like I said, if you just drop pallets on him and shit, like it's hard for him to do anything, you know?
Yeah.
You just don't let him get close to you. Like that's all you got to do. You just play the distance game and you don't let him get close to you and you just crap on him. But that's why I can appreciate him. I think he's really cool.
Yeah, he definitely deserves a spot in DBD, and it would be sad if he wasn't in the game because he's fun.
Oh, right. I almost forgot to mention one really important thing about Clown.
What is
And
that?
it's not mentioned very often. His patch and him, he is probably like the reason, and I think he is the reason as to why cosmetics existed in the game when he first came out.
Mhm.
When he first came into the game, the shop was introduced and cosmetics were a thing, right? Like
Okay.
we could actually thanks to him and his patch, the shop was actually coming out at the time when he first released
Mhm.
and he had cosmetics and so did like some other killers. I definitely remember that time.
Yeah.
It's a very very unspoken and very underrated thing about him. But that's another reason why I really love him because he introduced like cosmetics and stuff and I'm like fuck yes. I could
Yeah.
finally give Dwight a beard, like a beard and bald head, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's like another reason why I really love him. Like he brought some pretty good shit to the table.
Yeah, he did. All right, Miss Mercury. What do you got to say about the beluga whale?
I'm just wondering why you don't have Mr. Puddles on the
I
screen.
don't own them. Look, these are my clown skins right here.
How do you not have them?
Shit, I got the it one.
Damn. Well, you can only get
bro,
them with shards, and you always get fucking blood points with your
bro, you're
shards.
devotion 80 and you don't have Mr. Puddles. What the
I
fuck?
don't. I
You
just
need
got
Mr.
battle pass
Puddles.
outfits.
No.
You're devotion 80 and you don't have Mr. Puddles.
I'm
Mm-mm.
fucking up.
Oh my god.
I'm
You're
gonna
getting a
put
thumbs
this
down for
one.
not having.
Nah, I'm unfollowing for that one.
Damn,
You
that
need
one crossed the
Mr.
line.
Puddles.
Unfollow,
I'm just
unfriend.
kidding.
We need Mr. Puddles.
Shoot.
Well, as as far as playing clown, he's fun to play. You know, anti-loop killer,
Yeah.
pretty easy to use, pretty easy to understand. Um, so I like that about him. I don't play him too much unless I get a daily.
Yeah, same.
But um, yeah, he's he's fun. But like facing him, I'm not very good because I'm not very good with the maps. And but it can be fun dodging the bottles and trying to predict like where he's gonna throw them, like fake going left, but then actually go right and make him throw it in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I do feel like sometimes like he'll miss the bottle and it'll still get you even though it's like 100 miles away. I find that kind of annoying.
Mhm.
But overall, I don't mind facing him. I'd rather people play Clown than some of the other killers that I don't like. Like I'd rather face like Clown than Billy or something, obviously.
Oh yeah, for
Um, I,
sure.
I do wish more people played him because, like you said, it is an M1 killer. If he spends too much time on one person, he can get gen rushed and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like him. I wish more people played Mr. Puddles because I really like that outfit. But other than that, yeah, it's all right.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? I think he's a thumbs up. All right, now we're
And
on to the spirit, my girl. I love spirit. I love having to listen for survivors and then like you hear them run and then you stop hearing them run and you know they're right next to you. And she has some really really nice cosmetics. And she's probably the better version of Chucky. I remember when Chucky got his like final nerf that put him in the coffin. I wanted to play another killer that can like dash, but like not be too difficult to like pick up. And I went with Spirit because I feel like Spirit and Chucky are kind of similar, except Spirit has like way more control over her phase than Chucky did his dash. But yeah, you can start this one off, Miss Mercury, if you want.
Okay, so Spirit, she was the probably first S killer ever tried. When I was new, she was really easy to pick up,
Hmm.
um, especially against newer survivors that don't know what they're doing. And like I said, I always play add-on lists, so she's really easy to use with no add-ons, which is a plus. Um, Playing against her, I'm an Iron Will user, so I usually fare decently against her. Not always. I usually have a Languid Touch or some kind of like Mind Breaker or something that gives you exhaustion, so that way they can avoid um, Iron Will, which
Yeah.
can be a little tricky. But she is very fun to mind game and chase, or at least attempt to.
Hmm.
Because a good spirit, is going to have your headphones and your ears and
Yeah.
like that one match we were playing in TV8 where like they were hiding, like they were literally like basically standing still and you could hear their breathing.
Yep.
Um,
Because when they run and stop running, you hear, like they're
yeah,
exhausted.
yeah. So, I guess a good spirit, it's misery, but like what top tier average, very fun, very fun.
Hmm.
As long as they're not just slugging, I hate that. That's the
Yeah.
one thing like we didn't really talk about much with the knockout change. Is I personally that's my least favorite thing in the game. So I'm glad that they're doing the surrender option and adding the extra things in because I hate
Yeah.
when killers just slug everyone and then start hooking. I find that really boring.
Hmm.
But yeah, on topic with Spirit, I definitely give her thumbs up. She's fun to face, fun to play.
Hmm.
She's strong, but not like super OP.
Yeah, like she can still get stunned by pellets. That's
Yeah,
like
and
the most satisfying thing to do too, like as a survivor. Like she's using her power, she got all this distance back on you, and boom, you stun her. That
yeah,
shit
the
is
fact that she
annoying.
is slower. Yeah, the fact that she is slower, and if you're able to do that, like you said, right out of power,
Mhm.
and then she's forced to break the pallet, and you can just make distance, and then
Yeah,
you get to do the mind game again. Yeah, overall, I do find her very fun. I like the spirit.
same. What do you gotta say about good old Spirit AP?
I don't really like her that much. I mean, okay, I will give some pros to her though.
Yeah,
I think her counterplay is very interesting because it's all hearing based.
yeah,
Like you have to use your ears when it comes to playing both sides. Like you have to use your ears to like listen to survivors and predict where they're going to be going when it comes to their movement and their
yeah.
footsteps, right? Like it's all an ear game, it's all a listening game.
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing when you play a survivor too because you're also trying to predict where she's going to come from when it comes to facing.
Yeah.
Um right, like I think the counterplay aspect is pretty cool and unique in its own right. Like I find that to be pretty dope
Hmm.
about Spirit, right? I think that's very unique. I also really like her lore. Like she has a very dope lore. Because she's basically like the granddaughter of Oni
Yeah.
or something like that. It's something like that. Like I think Oni's like a super long ancestor of her.
Mhm.
Um, and I think her lore is like really dope. I think her counterplay is like really cool. But I mean, my problem with her is like I don't know. I mean, I think she's like super easy to play. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
I think she's I mean, I going back to when I mentioned pick me killers, but I definitely think she's a pick me killer.
Yeah.
I undoubtedly think she's a pick me killer and she's really, really powerful. I mean, yeah, she
Mhm.
has some counterplay, like, you know, the facing, the hearing, you know, the pallet dropping and stuff like that. But you could make almost every single tile in the game except for Shack a 50-50 when you're facing spirit.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying, like you can make it like a 50-50 almost every time.
Mhm.
So it's like, you know, spirit's like really fucking strong, very powerful, still like A plus tier in my eyes.
Oh yeah, no
um
doubt.
like yeah, you kind of have to like manage your phasing meter a little bit. You don't want to like overextend, because if you do that you'll lose out all of your phasing and stuff. So
Mhm.
it makes like your chases a little bit harder, and you don't want to go too far with that.
Yeah.
um you know, I think she takes like a little bit of skill, but I don't know.
She's
I don't like her that much. I don't hate her. I just am not a fan of her.
yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? And I definitely don't like facing her. I fucking hate facing Spirit.
But I think she's definitely one of the easiest S tier killers to get good at.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Because you just need really good headphones. Like if
Yeah.
as long as you have if you have really good hearing, and if you practice your phasing with your hearing, you'll just win so many games.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Even against really good survivors, like it
Even
doesn't
against really
matter.
good survivors. And her tunneling game is ridiculous too, by the way.
And
Her
like
tunneling
even
game is ridiculous.
yeah,
She's a very powerful tunneler.
but even with like Iron Will and off the record, it doesn't really help them against a good spirit because she'll still like predict you like how what is it?
Footsteps.
Yeah, footsteps, and then also like a nurse, you know, she'll be like, "Oh, well, look, there's a god pellet right there. That's where they're gonna be going," and then boom, get you, even though you have Iron Will and off the record and all this quiet stuff. But yeah, I think she's definitely one of the easier ones, and she does have counterplay, but like her counterplay, she can still do good if she's at that high level, and it doesn't really matter if you have like Iron Will or off the record, or even Shadow Step, because some don't even care about scratch marks, they go solely off sound, and they rock the add-ons that don't even show scratch marks. But yeah, she's definitely the easiest S tier killer, no doubt. Um, we good to move on?
Yeah, I know I am.
Alright, Legion, you got this one, AP.
I think Legion is not strong in the slightest. I think
No.
he's like right next to probably Skull Merchant in terms of like just a genuinely bad killer.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I like their cosmetics. But they're just like a overly simplistic killer. Like they don't
Yeah.
have anything. They're not complex in the slightest. They're like ridiculously predictable. They're not hard to beat either.
No.
They're actually pretty fucking easy to beat if you just, you know, get past the mending.
Mhm.
I mean, they have cool cosmetics. I like the lore behind Legion. I think it's I mean, I don't know why they made Susie a lesbian, but whatever. That was an interesting change, but okay then. But yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. I think Legion's cool. They have cool cosmetics. Many people like play Legion. Many people enjoy Legion, and
Mhm.
you know, I could see the appeal. They're very easy to get into for the most part. You know, it's
Yeah.
they're pretty chill. Like they're very casual. Like I wouldn't play Legion if I wanted to win games. I would only want to play
No.
Legion. I would only want to play Legion if I wanted to like kick my feet up and just play casual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just play the blunt point simulator on killer.
However, old Legion when they first got into the game, Jesus Christ,
That broke the
old,
game.
old Legion, you couldn't do anything. Like you could just keep hitting them, and then they just keep putting their men timer down more and more and more, and then they just go down. Like it was so stupid.
Yeah.
Um, However, at the same time, by them taking that away, they just became probably one of the worst killers in the game. So it's
Mhm.
like, you know, But yeah, no, Old Legion definitely needed to go. That shit
Mhm.
was bad. That did not need to be in the game.
Yeah, that was like
That was like
super easy free
that
wins.
was really bad, dude. And I forgot how long that lasted for, but it definitely shouldn't have lasted
It
as long as
lasted
it
a
did.
pretty long time.
Oh god, I believe
Yeah.
it. Maybe that's why people hated Legion so fucking much. Just it's kind of like the same thing with Skull Merchant and the 3-genning situation.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like people are still like hating on Old Legion, and then ever since they've had to endure the Old Legion shit, that hatred just continued to pass down. You know what I mean?
Mhm. And then same with Skull Merchant, even though she's like really
Same with Skull
shitty,
Merchant.
they
Oh
still are
yeah,
like, oh, Skull Merchant.
Merchant is terrible. I mean, like she's not even she wasn't even that powerful to begin with. Like the year ago she was released.
Mhm.
Was it a year ago? I think it was a
Old
year
Legion
ago.
was so annoying. Yeah, it was like a year and a half ago. She was.
Yeah, it's been some time
Mhm.
since she's been released since you know. But
Yeah,
she wasn't even that powerful to begin with. She was just only good at like guarding, a 3 generator situation, and that was it.
yeah.
Um but I don't know. I mean, there's not really too much for me to say about Legion. I mean, I think they're cool for casuals. I think they got
Mhm.
cool cosmetics. I personally wouldn't play them a lot unless like if somebody wanted me to, but I
Yeah.
think they're cool. I think they're all right. I like them
And
in that sense.
they have the most lore out of like any killer, because they have comic books. I actually bought them. They have like a whole comic book series, and they come with
Skull Merchant was
charms.
not strong. Please say that again. Well, I mean, it's just the truth. Like IP 100 Skull Merchant.
Mhm.
I played her. Like I play everything in the game. Like I've mentioned, I've been playing this game for so many years, so it's like I know a shit ton about it. And I can tell you right now, Skull Merchant was never strong to begin with. The only thing she was good at was patrolling and
Yeah.
sometimes stealth, and that was it. Like that was the only things that she was good at was like guarding objectives. Otherwise, she wasn't a good chase killer at all. Like you could just loop
Yeah.
her for a long ass time,
She was
you
only
know.
a good chase killer when she started getting scans and injures, because then she was getting the hindered and haste.
Okay, that was pretty good. I like that
Yeah.
change. They should have just kept that change with her, like the hindered and like the haste effect, right?
Yeah.
Like that made her fairly competent for an M1 killer. Like that
Mhm.
made her pretty good for chasing, right? I really
Yeah.
like that change. But then they just straight up gutted her. Like they removed a fucking scan and they just like didn't even bother to give her haste anymore. And it's like, bro, she's
Yeah.
so
But I
bad.
remember back when she was really good, I was playing with Orioi and two other homies, and we all had deja vu. And before we even got scanned once, we did two of like the deja vu gens, and it was basically
Good.
hard for her to 3 gen, even though she was trying her best. With four deja vus against a 3 gen skull merchant, we won. She ended up DCing when we got the last gen done.
Good.
But it's just
Good.
like there was counterplay to her. It was just not getting scanned too early on, and breaking the 3 gen with deja vu, and you needed at least three people with deja vu because it was really hard to break it back then. But
We're talking about the time where the 3 gen lock mechanic wasn't a thing, you know?
yeah, yeah, you can
And
kick it 100 times.
people would just constantly abuse that shit and it was miserable to face.
Yeah,
Like you would literally get 40-minute long ass games and I hate to say it, but like well, we probably shouldn't talk about Skull
yeah,
Merchant too
yeah,
much
yeah.
because we're
You're
talking
right.
about Legion.
Um,
We'll
but
get to Merchant later.
you can say your take on Legion, but you're right. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
All
But
right. Unfortunately, I don't agree with you guys. If I could delete like one killer, I'd probably freaking get rid of not one killer, but if I could get rid of a couple, I would do not like Legion. I don't
I'd be okay with that, honestly.
I just don't find the mending fun, and I'm a little concerned with the rework coming up because it's like okay, a couple seconds off a mend, that's great, but then they're buffing Legion to compensate, and so I can't really comment on that because like obviously it's not even on the PTB or anything, it's just numbers, doesn't mean anything to me. But I just, especially 2v8, oh my god, because my favorite part of 2v8 was the insta heal and chase. But if people are mending, you can't see if the person next to you is mending, and so you're using your ability and it does absolute nothing. Your heal does nothing against the mending. I don't know. I just don't really enjoy playing against Legion. I get that he's not strong. I get that you're gonna get four outed a lot of the time, but it's not
Yeah.
enjoyable to me. It's not about winning or losing or how strong, or it's just not fun for me to face. Um, Playing, I've played him as a little bit. It can be kind of fun to play. I get the appeal. It's
Mhm.
kind of fun just stabbing everyone and getting a bunch of blood points and all
Yeah.
that. It's just as a survivor, I just personally don't love it. But I've met a lot of really cool Legion mains, so at least they're cool
Mhm.
people. But just facing them, just not a fan. Just thumbs down for me.
Yeah. I like Legion. I think they're fine. I like going against them and playing against them, but I do understand the men simulator is kind of tedious. Was that all you had to say, Miss Mercury?
Yeah, that's it. Just not a fan.
All right, let's go Plague. You're up.
Oh God. I used to really, really enjoy Plague. I got shit on really hard one time and I stopped playing her. But I really liked playing her because like you could puke on all the gens, you could puke on pallets, puke on everything. And that was kind of fun. I wasn't very good with her power, but it is really nice to have people injured all the time and wasting time cleansing and all that stuff. Playing against her, I usually get the people that just like to keep you injured and camp the hook. So I don't really have the most fun facing her. I like the ones that go for the power. Um, but usually people just camp once you're injured and you're kind of forced to cleanse.
Mhm.
And so not my favorite to face, but I don't see her very often, so like not enough to complain about her or anything like that. I think she's
Yeah.
perfectly fine the way she is because she's not easy to play. You do have to put a lot of work in to get all that to happen, and
Mhm.
you have to hope that the survivors will play in a certain way to play that you want the way you want to play. So I think she's
Yeah.
okay. I don't really have much to say other than that.
What about you, AP?
Before the Skull Merchant, the true 3-gen queen was Plague, and
Yeah, she was.
I hated her because of that. However, ever since they nerfed the 3-gen mechanic, I very much appreciate and tolerate her 1,000 times more. She's a very interesting killer that can inflict broken and status effects across the board. She also forces survivors to like play a dangerous game whether they want both of their health stages or feeding into her power.
Mhm.
um she's strong, like she's capable, she's got like a very disgustingly powerful projectile, might be the strongest projectile in the game if we argue about that.
Yeah.
um and she can make for some complex decisions. I think she's cool though. I mean, I like her cosmetics. I used to kind of hate on her because of the 3 genning shit because she was really good at that.
Mhm.
However, ever since they nerfed it, I like her. I think she's cool. I can appreciate Plague, and I think she's dope in that aspect.
Yeah.
Very unique. She's also like one of those unique killers that can just affect the 1v4 scenario and can also like be played in a skillful way, and you reward yourself for skillful plays.
Mhm. Is that all we have to say about the Plague Mommy?
Yeah, yeah, I don't have much to say. I like her. I think
Yeah.
she's a cool killer with a cool kit. I appreciate her. And I
Mhm.
play her sometimes myself.
Yeah, same. But just one more thing before we get off of her. She definitely was the 3-gen queen back in the day. She
Yep,
was
before Skull
devastating.
Merchant, she was like the true 3-gen queen.
Yeah. It
Like
was rough.
it was so annoying facing her at the time with that shit. I hated it, dude.
Yeah, the games were literally like 30, 40 minutes long.
It was bad. I did not like Plague at all because of that shit. But now that that's nerfed, I think she's perfectly fine.
Yeah, no doubt.
You just all you have to do is just be brave and just deal with the sickness, and you can win the game.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Just don't play like a coward. Literally just stick to gens while you're sick, and if she chases you, just hold forward and just get away and make distance.
Mhm.
And you could just win against her. Like that's just how you have to play. Like you have to play very passive.
Yeah.
you know, it's not like she could just 3 gen and hold that shit forever, and then you have to like get yourself hurt and all that stuff. You know, it's not like that anymore.
Mhm.
So it's why I very much can like her now more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, let's move on to the ghost cake. You can go on this one, AP. What you gotta say about the boy? You might have to get the voice changer on for this one. I'm just kidding.
Bro, I was just pulling that shit up. How'd you know? I was just
You
pulling that
fucking
up,
do.
bro. I was just gonna pull that up. You know me, dog.
I do. Yeah, just get the voice changer on, fuck it.
Fuck, dude.
I
Well, I
gotta
have to
get you.
re-download it.
Oh, alright, fuck it then.
Hang on. I don't know
I
if I can re-download it, but
But yeah, I knew, bro.
damn, dude.
The king, bro, the king.
Okay, well, I'll just say to my normal voice then.
Yeah.
Um, he's not strong. I mean, he's a fun, cool ambush killer. He's like another license killer that's introduced another popular license to the series.
Mhm.
Plays with him, you could definitely do some interesting Ghostface mind games, but he's just really fucking hard because survivors just constantly see where you're going all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like yeah, you can make for some really nasty like ambush plays, but at the same time, like if you see Ghostface and if you expose him, he's just like man with knife, you know?
Mhm.
Like that's just all he becomes. He just becomes a man with knife and he just like runs at you with a knife with 115 movement speed and he's just crap, you know?
Yeah.
Um but like I said, like he definitely still has some stuff going for him. Like he could definitely tap into his like, stealth power. Like he can expose you, or he can
Mhm.
even sometimes do that mid chase, which is interesting.
Yeah, the
Or
99
he
mechanic.
Yeah, or he can like forcibly keep you into a tile by like not injuring you right away and just like force exposing you when you get really close.
Mhm.
Like you could definitely do some stuff with Ghostface. I mean, I hated him a lot during the eruption meta. I thought that shit was annoying, but honestly, I think he's cool now, to be quite real with you. I think he's perfectly fine the way he is.
Yeah.
Cause with him during eruption meta and Surge and Call of Brian and all that shit, oh god, I fucking hated him. I hated him so much, but it's not a killer problem though. It was a perk problem. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It had nothing to do with like the actual killer. It was just the ridiculously badly designed perk. You know.
Yeah.
But I like Ghostface. I think he's fine. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
He's not that strong.
Mhm.
But he's all right.
What about you, Miss Mercury?
I don't mind facing Ghostface. I do think his power to reveal him is a little bit inconsistent, especially if you're in chase with him and looking directly at him. I feel like you have to like be behind something while you're revealing him, which kind of doesn't make sense. It's just, but as playing him, I feel like I get revealed from everything. Like there'll be nobody near me, nobody looking at me, and I just get revealed. I really fucking hate playing him. So I don't know. I don't mind facing him though. I cannot play that killer to save my life. I never get so mad than when I play that killer because like if you don't have your power, you don't have anything,
Mhm.
and it's just so fucking boring to just be a M1 killer with no power if you can't fucking mark
Yep.
anybody, if you don't get a good map, or if you get people that already know what you're doing and know where you
Hmm.
are at all times.
Yeah.
um yeah, just not my favorite to play. I probably one of my least favorite to play, which is weird. That's usually like when Survivor main's first fucking killer because
Mhm.
Ghostface is iconic, and all that stuff, but just playing him is a nightmare. I fucking hate playing him, but I don't mind facing him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I really gotta say. He's all right.
Alright, let's move on. The Demogorgon.
Like he's kind of fun to sneak around with, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like if you can't stay in stealth, he's just not a good killer at all. Like you just get your ass ripped apart. It's not
Yeah.
pleasant. It's why I don't play him that much because of that same exact reason.
Yeah, and it's like what you guys both said, but like running around and just being an M1 killer with no power at all is just It's just not fun. It's simply not fun. I would rather just use a power that I suck at than freaking not be able to use a power at all and just walk people down all game. But yeah,
Yeah, it's miserable.
let's go to the Demogorgon. You go first, AP.
Didn't I go first last time?
Actually, I think you did. You go first this time, Miss
Yeah, he
Mercury.
wants a break.
Oh yeah, yeah, he needs to catch
um,
his breath.
I mean, I technically got to go to bed soon.
Oh, okay.
oh shit.
I'm
All
night
right.
shift, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh damn, we're like halfway.
Hey, we
That's all
have
right.
plenty
We could
of time to do
continue.
it another time.
We can continue another day.
Yeah, let's just do Demogorgon first, so before you gotta go.
Alright. I love Demo. I love the lore of Demo. I love, the Stranger Things show. Um he's pretty fun to play. I do feel like he's a little bit weaker. I've not played him since they did like the tweaks with his power or anything, or with his portals. Um because I do think that I wish that you could sort of remove them on your own instead of like having a trap in a corner, near a gen. That gen gets done and it's stuck there. You can't move it, because I feel like Alien is the same thing but better, where his traps are, set in one place, but they're, if you get good RNG, they're there forever, and it's more interactive, and you have like, whatever. Like the only thing good about it really is if they happen to be near that portal when you're using your ability to get the killer instinct. I think
Yeah,
you could use a little bit of buff to play, but he is fun to play, and a lot of people they're like, "Oh, a demo, it's going to be so easy," and then you could shit on them because they're expecting it to be easy.
yeah,
I love facing him for the same reasons, because it's just you don't see him that much. It's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do. Not too oppressive,
mhm,
base kit or anything. Just really enjoyable killer. I like him.
yeah. What I will say about the tweaks, it was when you come out of a portal, you're undetectable for a short period of time. And it's really comfortable like using portals now, when before you weren't undetectable. You would come out the portal and they would already know that you're there, and they'd be pre-running while you're still coming out the portal. But now you get
Oh,
like more of a sneak up on them when you come out the portal. So I definitely use portals when I play demo.
yeah, that's a good change then.
All right, AP, what do you got?
I think he's very underrated, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
I don't think many people play him much. He's got like a cool shred ability. He's from Stranger Things. I like his portal buffs that they gave him. I like the buffs that they just gave him in general to like stand up to the current meta.
yeah,
He's got like a really cool Terra Radius theme too. Like he's got really cool sounds. It's Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things. He's got dope cosmetics.
he
Not that many
does.
people play him though. And we got to remember, like the poor dude got vaulted out of the game for like 2 fucking years,
Yeah,
and it's like Demogorgons were like pretty rare at the time. But I'm
yeah.
very happy to see that they came back.
Mhm.
I'm very happy to see that Demogorgon came back, and now we can actually relive that old experience with
Yeah.
him again. He's cool, I like him. He takes some practice though. Like you have to learn his shreds and stuff, and you have to like you got to learn the distances. Like you got to learn when to hold it long enough to where you launch yourself far away, or you like hold it for a little bit so you do a quick um
Pounce.
like a quick pounce. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I like Demogorgon. I think he's really dope. I don't see him that often. I think he's very underrated, to be quite honest with you. He's really
Yeah.
cool.
And
He's a very cool killer, and he's like one of the first monster killers. Like he's not like a humanoid killer. He's like an actual monster killer.
yeah,
You know,
like it's full on animal.
yeah, like literally like a full on beast, like a full on animal monster type shit. He's like the first one too, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would say is Demo, he's actually really good at taking out a lot of pallets too. Because like survivors, they don't want to give Demo that hit sometimes, but they end up like feeding him like 4 god pellets really fast. And then the next person that runs through that shit just gets shit on because the prior person just dropped everything.
All right, brother, I gotta go to bed. I'm really tired.
Alright,
I gotta go to work.
no problem. Thank you, AP.
That's fun though. We could continue it next morning.
Oh yeah, for sure. We still got
All
half
right.
a roster.
All right. Appreciate you. Bye bye. Fun
Appreciate you too.
talks.
Thank you.
And good night, Miss Mercury.
Yeah, good night.
Bye bye.
Well, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Let me highlight it though so we can upload it to YouTube. But yeah, I want to do that more often, and I want to do it with more people, whoever's like willing to, you know.
I feel like Luck would be interested in it.
Oh hell yeah, I would be down to do an interview with Luck too. Publish. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I should have did that with Orioi too, but Orioi only has a little bit of time, you know.
Yeah, I did already watch the video, the talk that you had. It was good.
This one was a lot longer though. We're gonna have to do a part two. But I feel like we gave like more of a perspective on each killer. Cause like we can talk about Survivor, but it's better if we talk about killers, cause we can talk about like our experiences with that survivor or with that killer as Survivor. You know?
Yeah, playing as and against, and
Yeah.
everything.
And we definitely weren't the same on like everything for sure. Like I personally like Legion, like going against Legion, but um you and AP, you guys weren't on the same page, you know? Like
And same with Myers. Myers
yeah,
is my
yeah.
number one. That was his like -10.
Yeah, same. I'm chilling off Myers.
Again.
I'm
That was
good
so
off of
funny.
him.
You're like, again? Oh my god, that shit was so funny.
That dude knocked me out my raggedy ass boots.
Dude.